present but has to go to Congress to settle the issue of minority. We'd like to welcome our guest, resource persons, and we'd also like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed Senate President Tito Soto. Good morning, sir.
Okay, so with at least 3 members of the Oversight Committee present. Okay, so with at least 3 members of the Oversight Committee present and each panel represented by at least one of its members, I declare the presence of a quorum. So with the permission of the chair of the House panel, may I proceed? This is the second meeting of the JCOC on the AES. During the first meeting presided by then Chair Senator Chis Escudero, the rules of the procedure of this Oversight Committee were adopted. Please be informed that the rules were published in the official gazette on March 5, 2018. So for today's hearing, we will check on the status of compliance on the submissions required by the JCOC AES during the previous hearing. And we will listen to the following presentations. The COMELEC Advisory Council recap of their issues and concerns on the automated election system during the 2016 elections and their recommendations for the 2019 elections. We will also listen to the COMELEC on the following topics. This one requested by Senator Gatchalian, the economic and financial analysis of the COMELEC's purchase of the vote counting machines. Number 2, the status of your preparations for the automated election system for the 2019 elections. And pursuant to a specific Senate resolution, what happened to the hacking incident concerning the COMELEC voters database. So may I request the resource persons to use our time wisely and limit yourself to the topic assigned to you, and let's be direct to the point, and also observe proper decorum at all times. Chairman?
Yes, please proceed.
So may I call on our committee secretary, Atty. Dana Mindiola Alberto, to acknowledge for the record the resource persons who are present for today's hearing.
Good morning. The Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System would like to recognize the following resource persons. Commissioner Antonio Tico Jr., Executive Director Jose M. Tolentino Jr., Director Teopisto E. Alnas Jr., Undersecretary Eliseo M. Rio Jr., Mr. Roel Sancho, Mr. Peter Banzon, Mr. Marlon M. Lim, Mr. Pravir Dahia, Engineer Rolito C. Gualvez, Attorney Sixto S. Brillantes Jr., Attorney Emilio Marañon III, Attorney Crisanta V. Valera, Mr. Eric O. Alvia, Mr. Angel Averia, Dr. Erwin A. Serrano, Dr. William Yu, Mr. Orlan Oxales, Mr. Pet Reforzado, Attorney Glenn Chong, former Congressman Luis Villafuerte, Mr. Ramon Casiple, Dr. Nelson J. Celis, Attorney Yvette C. Contacto, Attorney Ivan John Uy, Ms. Bettina Quinzon, Attorney Hubert Guevara, Mr. Edmundo Casino. Thank you.
Secretary, just call my attention if there are some late arrivals now, okay?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, yes.
if I may interrupt. For today, for us to have a better hearing and committee meeting, may I also request that concerned individuals, if there is still space, be included in the panel also as our resource persons. I understand Commissioner Gia is here to guide us also in relation to the automated election system. He's current.
He's current. Oh,
Current.
Commissioner, yeah.
Commissioner.
And Commissioner Casquejo is also here.
Commissioner Casquejo is also invited to be a part of the panel of resource persons. Welcome to the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee hearing.
We also have Attorney Ryan Kilala. Please join us. Okay, so, okay, Chairman. Okay, so if I may proceed. During the last hearing, the following persons and/or entities were required to submit some documents to the committee. So let me announce those who have complied. The COMELEC Advisory Council Secretariat submitted the CAC reports on the 2010, 2013, and 2016 elections. So, thank you. Let's go. Attorney Glenn Chong also gave us a copy of his February 15, 2018 letter regarding the information that you're requesting from the COMELEC. So letter pala. So we will now follow up on the substance of the letter. We also received a letter dated February 23, 2018 from the Senior Relationship Manager PLDT, Mr. Rolito Gualvez, stating that they cannot provide the data transmission logs requested because after providing such information to Smartmatic, the logs were automatically purged from their data storage services. We got an email from Ms. Kathleen Ann Mamaradyo, Industry Head of Globe Telecom, stating that they cannot provide the data transmission logs requested because their contract with Smartmatic TIM Corporation did not include storage or retention of the said data. Okay, para alam po ng lahat. We are IT, I think this is a group, provided soft copies of the following transmission logs relative to the 2016 national local elections and audit logs relative to the 2016 national local elections. And from the COMELEC gave us the IP addresses of VCM and CCS for the transmission of election results. Also, resolution number 10101, the revised contingency procedures in connection with the May 9, 2016 national local elections. COMELEC also gave us DVD of the PowerPoint presentation on the assessments and consultations made with respect to the exercise of the option to purchase the VCMs, including the economics and financial aspects of the purchase of the VCMs. It also contains the option to purchase contract / deed of sale between COMELEC and Smartmatic-TIM. COMELEC also gave us resolutions related to the preparations for the 2016 and 2019 elections. The report on the Precinct Automated Tallying System, PATAS, Hybrid Election System, mock elections conducted on June 25, 2015 at Bacoor, Cavite. COMELEC also gave us DVD containing the report of the random manual audit for the 2016 elections, snapshot of the logs for the domain name server, and the list of cities and municipalities that are not covered by any electoral protest, from which this committee may choose for the purpose of retrieving a particular ballot box containing paper ballots and comparing the latter with their digital images. So I'm announcing this to all of to the public and to the groups present here, so that you can, if you need a copy, if you want to take a look at all of those submissions, just ask permission and we will allow you. And also, you can also tell us for what use these documents can be put to. As for the following, there is no submission yet. Okay. Subject to clarification, I think the reason why COMELEC was not able to submit because you have some questions on the particularity. Main and backup SD cards of voting machines and the number of backup SD cards that were used during the 2016 elections and their locations. The printout of backup SD cards for comparison purposes, and samples of ballots and ballot images of votes cast in the recent 2016 elections from areas not covered by election protest. So, COMELEC has some questions for specificity that I understand. Okay, so we will discuss this later. So, did we miss anything else? Last August 1, 2018, the COMELEC submitted in a CD the raw logs of the servers per the directive of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reform. So we will share, with the permission of the chair, we will share what we have in the Electoral Reforms Committee. We will allow the Oversight Committee to access. So, Senate President.
Yes.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman, may I move that the Electoral Reforms Committee hearing, during the last hearing that you called, be summoned and incorporated into the records of the JCOC?
So the Senate President is moving that the transcript of the hearing of the Senate Standing Committee on Electoral Reform and People's Participation be submitted to the JCOC-AES and be made part of the records of this committee. Since that is a motion from the Senate panel, and I agree, so we will do so. And if this House panel doesn't mind,
We don't.
we will do it. We will do it. Okay. So now, okay. So we will now go to our agenda. We will listen to the presentations. We start first with the COMELEC Advisory Committee.
Yes, Mr. Chair, because as I was telling you earlier, me and Senator Pimentel earlier were talking before the start of the meeting that I asked him that at this point in time, prior to 2016 elections, 10 months before the 2016 national and local elections, where were you at that time? Meaning, at that point, almost barely 10 or 11 months before the actual elections. For 2019 elections, how has COMELEC prepared, and what is the state of its preparation for the 2019 elections, Mr. Chair? May I also ask any of my, excuse me, Mr. Chair, my colleagues here from the House if you have any questions or anything to raise at this point? Or, yeah, Congresswoman Quaresma from
thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mine is, I would just like to concur with your question as to whether are we ready for 2019 election? Just to support your statement, Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Chair, I believe we can now proceed with the presentation of COMELEC in relation to CAC.
We will listen to particularly two entities. Number one is the Advisory Council and then the COMELEC. Okay, so because we're ilang months na lang bilang? How many more months? So 10 months to go. So we are all 9 months to go. So we are all eager to know how prepared we are. The Advisory Council will now bring us their issues and concerns on the automated election system, which you observed during the 2016, and your recommendations for 2019. So go ahead, sir. Then after you, COMELEC will follow.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and to all our August members of the JCOC. To cut the time short, may we go to issues identified and recommendation. I think that's the 7th slide. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, sir. The inner house code has been a main issue, and our recommendation was to include CAC in the escalation protocol as technical problems are within the scope, no? And include in the investigation the capability of COMELEC and Smartmatic personnel. Next slide, please. On the random manual audit, The issue was the RMA committee was only able to audit and verify election results from 687 out of the required 715 plus 8 precincts. The remaining 28 cities were not included because ballot boxes could not be retrieved or they lack ERs. No? And as follows, a recommendation. Next slide, please. On transmission, Globe and PLDT expressed unavailability to be part of the 2016 NLE as system integrator. And our recommendation is as follows. Anyway, sir, these are on record, and anybody who would like to clarify any issue can have a copy of this. This is only for the time constraint that we have right now. On the emergency procurement of vegan, the issue was the list of 1,600 units of vegans for a, a value of 200 million pesos 3 days before the 2016 national election. Again, the recommendation are as follows. And on the issue is the decision of the Supreme Court to nullify COMELEC resolution number 171 issued on 03 March 2016. And our recommendation again is as follows. I can entertain questions if they come, sir, but if none, then they are all on record. So these are our major recommendations. Sir.
Senate President.
Please go back to the slide before that. Your recommendation is to study the inclusion of the double V path in the OR, no? For the bidding of the machine. Why study? To include. Ba't pag-aaralan pa?
It is actually just to have the inclusion of that study. Yes, sir. It's just the our recommendation is to include a study, sir. And
bakit study?
yes, sir. By the way,
include.
Okay, sir. We will take note of that. Thank you very much, sir. So this will be. If there are no more questions, may we go now to major recommendation. 1. Adopt a formal project management methodology and appoint an overall project manager on the part of COMELEC, distinct from the COMELEC commissioners who look after all aspects of pre-election preparation. So these are our recommendations for the next 2019 election, sir. By the way, sir, CAC is just an advisory council. We just make recommendation, and it's up for COMELEC to act on a recommendation or not.
Thank you, Secretary. I would like to acknowledge the arrival and presence of Senator Trillanes. Okay, so kaya nga, sir, ganito. We are recommending to improve, di ba?
Yes, sir.
So, because without a project manager who looks after all aspects of pre-election preparation, what did you see? What did you find out in 2016? Ano nangyari? Nagkagulo ba? Magulo ba sila?
I think, can I have Dr. William Uy answer that? He is our IT expert.
Dr. William Yu of TVCRD.
Hi, good morning. So, the observations with the election, sir, is right now there is a COMELEC commissioner in charge of the AES preparations. What we're recommending is that the preparations with respect to the election go beyond just the AES or during the elections, but it must be a BAU concern for the COMELEC. So on a day-to-day basis, they have this. Now, this is a major recommendation addressing a number of concerns, including the one raised a while ago about the NEA question mark problem about the procedure in which that change was made. So that goes back to project management methodology. So this is a generic recommendations that this project management, or at least we actually have a harder recommendation towards the end, that the COMELEC actually appoint a CIO to actually run as part of the agency, to make project management a first-class function as far as the agency is concerned.
We will ask about this again once you finish your recommendations. Sige po. Sige po, go ahead.
Second major recommendation, there should be an overall project plan that includes an adequate period of time for modifying the underlying ICT infrastructure. In the case of the 2016 national election, there was not enough time to thoroughly test the integrity of the entire AES as a consequence of the relatively late decision to lease the new set of VCM instead of using the refurbished PCOO machine. Next
So what is this time?
this time, sir,
What is this adequate period of time?
at this time, sir, we made sure that our recommendation on what to do now with the VCM and the PCOO has been received by COMELEC. And in fact, they acted on that recommendation for the 2019 election, which is actually to have the option to purchase for the VCM and some refurbishment, just to come up with a number of OMR machines that will lessen the line, sir. And so those were the recommendation, and I think we are on track. On the third, COMELEC must immediately start the diagnostic and repair of all PCOO machines for the GCS. Well, sir, this one is actually being done by COMELEC, whether they will actually repair the old PCOO machine. And four, clarify the change management plan to promote an orderly manner of introducing change in an established project plan. The fifth major recommendation, examine the overall effect of the future implementation of mall voting in the stability of the automated election system. This decision must be evaluated by the project manager, which we recommended earlier, and the advisory council to establish integrity and stability of a working system. The sixth major recommendation, designate a chief information officer, as what Dr. Yu suggested, kasi dito po uwi ang lumalabas. And the seventh, for the AES Steering Committee, wherein the CAC is a non-voting member, as provided for by RA 9369, to conduct regular meetings. Okay, sir, so I'll just go very, very fast on the CAC resolution, where we have the technical, all of these are on record and can be furnished anyone who is interested. On the CAC resolution number 10-17002, this considers seriously the use of multiple or mixed technology, not just Smartmatic, but all other technologies that are available. There must be interoperability to encourage these potential innovative solutions and systems. Actually, sir, we came up with a technical forum on this, where we invited all technology providers, including Smartmatic, of course. CAC Resolution number 101700, the reuse of the OMR technology as voting system with the following premises. The 2019 national election is the fourth time that the COMELEC will reuse the technology on a national scale. Acceptability of the OMR technology with paper-based ballots by the electorate and the DEIs. The cost of keeping, warehousing, refurbishing, and other related costs in the reuse of existing OMR, which are of course the VCM and the PCOS, will not offset the benefits and utility of reusing this OMR. And the third, on the same resolution, for COMELEC to provide opportunities for local election system developers and providers utilizing the latter useful and qualified automated election system in electoral exercise such as but not limited to 2019 NLE, future referenda, barangay ng Sangguniang Kabataan SK elections, and to provide opportunities for local election system developers and providing aforesaid, the COMELEC is urged to provide solution by addressing Section 12 of RA 8436 as amended. As I have said, sir, we have a public forum on this, and there were, I think, 4 local automated election providers, including hybrid systems. And the fourth, if COMELEC exercises the option to purchase the least vote counting machine, the VCM, which were used in the 2016 national election, we have the following measure that has to be seriously considered by COMELEC. And these are: A, the cost of keeping, warehousing, refurbishing, and other possible related or incidental costs when reusing these machines with the end view of maximizing its use and benefits in the forthcoming 2019 and 2022 electoral exercise do not overweigh the costs and benefits of exercising the OTP. The mechanism B, the mechanism by which this refurbishment and incidental costs are to be procured in the light of the Government Procurement Act RA 9184 and its implementing rules and regulation. The problems or deficiencies identified or observed in the 2016 election, such as but not limited to the VVPAT implementation, should be addressed before exercising OTP. Letter D, disposal of the machine when no longer serviceable or when their purchase and reuse will be more costly and disadvantage to the government, and more or less some PCOS machine are addressed here because some of them have been already identified by COMELEC itself as unserviceable. E, the mechanism to dispose the machine as contemplated in item C above to avoid unnecessary warehousing, maintenance, and related costs. Okay, fifth, if COMELEC shall decide to adopt or use the OMR technology in the 2019 NLE, either the use of VCM or PCOS machine will still be inadequate to support the requirement of the target of COMELEC of 600 voters per precinct. Right now, in the last election, I think we up to 1,000 voters per precinct were experienced. Thus, to augment support of this requirement, other AES technology should be acquired. Number 6, if necessary by reason of cost and time elements, and if found to be more advantageous to the government, considering other factors, the existing peak cost technology shall be refurbished and upgraded for utilization in the forthcoming election. Costly means that it would be cheaper to refurbish existing PCOS machines that we used way back 2010, if it would be cheaper than to rent or lease additional VCM machines. Provided further that these existing machines are subjected to rigorous quality and utility assurance and testing processes, and that the required security features and minimum system capabilities are 8436 as amended, including the VVPAT, be fully observed and implemented. Number 7, for the COMELEC to appoint a CIO who shall be in charge of the automated election system technology for the forthcoming NLE and subsequent elections and other functions as mandated by law. The CAC remains true to its mandate to recommend to the COMELEC the most appropriate, secure, applicable, and cost-effective technology to be used for the NLE. The decision to exercise the option to purchase, however, solely remains with the COMELEC. That ends my presentation, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Rio. May we ask the COMELEC now to present to us, to present before this committee the status of its preparation for the 2019 national and local elections. And this representation would also like to ask, currently, this may be answered by any of the commissioners, who acts as the current project manager. Although that's still an unofficial title and it's merely a recommendation of the CAC, but for the 2019, for the preparations of the 2019 elections, who acts as the head?
Good morning, Your Honors. The one who acts as head of the PMO is still our Executive Director, Attorney Jose Tolentino Jr.
I understand for the 2016 elections, it was former COMELEC Commissioner Botlim. Is that correct?
I guess you're referring to the steering committee, which is I represent as the head of the steering committee.
No, Commissioner. I'm asking about the previous elections.
The previous election is Commissioner Botlim.
Okay. So currently it is Executive Director Tolentino.
Yes, Your Honor.
Until further decision coming from the Commission and Bank, who will act as the head for the 2019
There's already
elections?
an Bank, Your Honor, and it was Executive Director Tolentino as the head of the PMO.
Thank you. So please proceed, Executive Director Tolentino.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes, may we recognize Dr. Nelson Celis of AES Watch. You are recognized, Dr. Celis.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. With regard to the presentation of Secretary Rio, I agree with the recommendation regarding the project plan, the diagnostics, the change management, CIO, the steering committee. But for the past elections, the 3 national and local elections, that's 3, and the one in Mindanao, That means there are 4 elections already that was handled by the Smartmatic. And the recommendation by Secretary Rio with reference to recommendation number 1 that the PMO be with the COMELEC. But for these 4 elections, we in the automated election system we don't believe that they can manage a project like the implementation again for 2019 because they already failed in the first place in implementing those 4 elections in compliance with the law. And not only compliance with the law, but with reference to compliance also with the terms of reference. So that means our recommendation is not for the COMELEC to do the project management office, but an independent body like the DICT. Because the DICT has all the expertise to implement an IT-related and humongous project like automated election system. And you would observe from the past, when there are concerns about project implementation, you would always see Smartmatic people, but not from the COMELEC. So I would recommend that the DICT, having all the expertise, handle the project management office.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Celis. Both chairs of the Joint Committee duly notes your statement. Can we now listen to Executive Director Tolentino, please? Please proceed, Executive Director Tolentino.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a presentation, Your Honor, and I don't know where the operator is. While the computer's being prepared, sir, we already asked the DICT what the CIO or the Chief Information Officer rank should be, and we were told it's supposed to be Undersecretary or something. And we don't have that position in our plantilla, Your Honor. Now, with respect to the recommendations of the Advisory Council, we'd like to state, Your Honor, that with respect to the inclusion of the BGANs, we have already included that in our terms of reference for the election results transmission system. That's why from the initial 580 million budget, we took into consideration the equipment that we used in 2016, in which case the budget for our election results transmission system is now, I think, around 1.1 billion pesos. On the mall voting, as stated by Yusek Rio, we are actually looking at mall registration, but for mall voting, not yet. And with respect to the VVPAT, this is already part of our system. When we decided to exercise the option to purchase the BCMs, one of the requirements was to have the VVPAT available. So, may I proceed, Your Honor?
Please proceed, Director.
This on the screen is our scope of presentation. That would be the status of our submissions. We will explain what the JCOC wanted and what we delivered. Next slide, please. Initially, the hearing should have been April 24. That's why we submitted the requested documents on April 12. The JCOC wanted a list of IP and MAC addresses of the devices connected to the network. So we submitted Annex A
which is a list of specific IP ranges and blocks. The blocks were provided by the telcos, and they could not give us the specific IP addresses actually used because they said the IP addresses are dynamic. So they gave us blocks. So if you see, let's say 1.0.0, like we know it's globe. When you see a block with a different series, we know it's smart. Next slide. Then the JC also wanted the main and backup SD cards to demonstrate how these items function. So what the COMELEC submitted was Resolution 10101 pertaining to the revised contingency procedures, and in that resolution, it is clearly shown how the main and backup SD cards interact with each other. Next slide. The JCOC also wanted a printout of the SD cards for comparison purposes. So we asked for clarification if the printouts requested refer to all the contents or just specific contents or just the ballot digital image for comparison against the election returns. We have not received any response from the JCOC yet. Next slide. For the documents on the assessments and consultations, you'll note that USEC Rio already enumerated earlier the contents of their resolutions. And so, we submitted last to the JCOC Annex C, which contains what we did, how we assessed and made consultations, and including the OTP contract, and the economics and financial aspects will be incorporated in the succeeding slides, Your Honor. For the preparations for the 2018 and 2019 elections, we submitted resolutions. Next. Now, the GCOs, the Advisory Council, has recommended to develop the capability of local IT industry for the making of counting machines, hardware, and software aspects. So what the COMELEC did was to allow the precincts automated tallying system, PATAS, the hybrid election system, to conduct a public demonstration. That was done on June 25, 2015 at Bacoor, Cavite. We had a problem with the demonstration, Your Honors, because as witnessed by some members of the House of Representatives, what was being encoded during the manual counting was different from what was appearing in the screen. So we said the question of credibility will arise because the laptop shows something that is different from what is projected. And I believe the PATAS also failed to... We had two precincts established during that demonstration, and those two precincts were unable to be consolidated.
The Senate President wants to know what was the explanation given when you looked at the laptop and you looked at the projection different.
No,
why?
that's not true.
I wouldn't know, Your Honor, because it's not our system. That's why we just submitted a report.
The proponent never explained what happened. Wala.
Excuse me, Gus. Excuse me, that's not true. Okay.
All right. Can I...
Senate President.
It was mabagal, yeah. But it was...
Please wait for you to be recognized.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so Mr.
Gus Lagman, yeah.
Gus Lagman will just react on that specific point, and then we will allow COMELEC to continue. Baka di tayo matapos dito.
There were two problems. Bacoor has been a problem for COMELEC for many elections. They could not transmit.
Yeah.
When we showed this PATAS system, transmission was successful, and they could figure out how we did it. There was a problem about I don't know, there was 1 vote difference, if I recall correctly. There were some 4 or 5 lawyers arguing, and we lost time until it was already something like 5 o'clock, and then they just declared that, there was no more time. But because of the arguments between the lawyers who were not even representing us, and they ate up all the time, so nothing happened. But the transmission was successful for the first time from Bacoor, except that we never got the opportunity.
COMELEC should just pursue that recommendation of the Advisory Council. And for future implementation. So go ahead with your report.
We will do that, Your Honor. Next slide. For the random annual audit, we submitted the report of the Random Annual Audit Committee. It's with the JCOC, Your Honors. Next. Okay, for the logs, what was requested by the JCOC was just event snapshots. So that is what we did, but on August 1, we gave a CD, and as acknowledged by Senator Pimentel, we submitted the CD containing the complete raw DNS logs, and it's available if you wish to obtain a copy from the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms. Next. Next. Okay, so on the assessment and consultation made before the COMELEC exercised the option to purchase. Resolution 2017-001 of the Advisory Council was submitted to the JCOC and the COMELEC. Next. We're just giving a background. And on the basis of that, COMELEC and the CIC conducted an AES workshop on June 15 to 16, 2017 to identify the criteria in determining the AES technology to be used in the 2019 elections. Following that workshop, there was an AES technology fair conducted on July 26, 2017, and it showcased both foreign and locally developed AES technologies like optical mark readers, direct recording electronic, internet voting, voter verification system, and cyber security. On the basis of those workshop and AES technology fair, the CAC passed Resolution 2017-002, which was explained by Yusek Rio earlier. And there were exchanges of communications between COMELEC and the CAC to clarify how the COMELEC interpreted the recommendations of the CAC. Next. And so our law department finally submitted a memorandum telling the CAC that this is how we interpreted your resolutions. And October 18, 2017, Yusek Rio, who was the chairman of the ICT and, or rather the CAC, confirmed COMELEC's interpretation of the CAC intent. After that, we conducted a stakeholders meeting. We had the CAC and the Citizens Arm. That was on November 7, 2017, discussing the available options. And at present, where the CAC, NAMFREL, PPCRV, 1 vote, Democracy Watch, Lente, 1 righteous vote. And on the basis of that stakeholders meeting, COMELEC came out with resolution number 17-0770, that's December 18, 2017, approving the exercise of the option to purchase the BCMs used in the 2016 elections. Next. So these are the reasons why we exercise the OTP. The CAC recommended that since COMELEC has existing reusable VCMs, which is of the OMR technology, and there exists no technology or equipment which compared to the VCMs is more effective and efficient and can be acquired at a cost less than the VCMs. Based on that recommendation, the COMELEC issued that resolution. Also, our commissioners had their separate opinions in that resolution, citing cost effectiveness, proven reliability, those shown on the screen. Next. So for proven reliability, the problems and challenges which we faced in 2010 and 2013 have been addressed. That's why, and we have additional enhancements for the 2019 NLE. Greater public acceptance pertains to the surveys and reports from international observers showing that a majority of the Filipinos accepted the 2016 NLE. We had a high acceptance rating. Of course, there will always be some critics. And the NAMFREL and the PPCRV have also stated that the 2016 NLE was by far the best managed automated elections. Among the conditions in the resolution authorizing the exercise of the OTP, here are the revision of the source code, which would be free of charge. And if you recall, our voter receipt in 2016 just had the names of the candidates on that voter receipt. But for our purpose, we will include security marks such as QR codes. We will also indicate the precinct number. But we will make sure that we cannot identify who the voter is based on that voter receipt. Those are the conditions that we have on the screen would be the revisions of the source code. Next. So on the economics and financial aspects of the option to purchase, this was, I think, requested by Congressman Gatchal, or Senator Gatchal. So here, we still have 800 registered voters per cluster. And we also have 97,350 units of PCM. So for the option to purchase, there is, since we need 97,350, we don't have to procure additional BCMs. But if we will refurbish our PCOS, we will use that for the 2019 elections, we have to procure additional 15,574 units to complete the 97,350 requirement. Next. Cost of AES components, common for both VCM and PCOS, will amount to 4.1 billion pesos. Next. And cost of consumables such as marking pen, cards, iButtons, they're common also for both VCM and PCOS. And the cost of consumables per machine would be 9,387.35. And if we multiply that by the number of machines that we will use, the total cost is 913 million point 8. Next. So if you add all up, if you add the components and consumables, total would be 5.11 billion pesos. For the PCOS refurbishment, the total cost of the parts and upgrading is 1.6 billion. Then we have a 45 million budget for refurbishment and upgrading services, Then we also have the Project Management Office and Technical Support for a total of 1.944 billion pesos. So you will note that the cost of the PCOS refurbishment is actually cheaper than the cost of the option to purchase. Next. However, under the option to purchase, there is no need to procure additional machines. On the other hand, we need 15,574 additional units for if we refurbish the PCOS, and that translates to 1.4 billion pesos. Next. So the total cost of equipment for the PCOS is already 3.3 billion as against the option to purchase cost of 2.12 billion pesos. Next. So if you add it all up, cost of equipment, cost of consumables, cost of components, the use of the PCOS is more expensive by 1.2 billion pesos. Now, the next problem is our DBM approved budget. The DBM only gave us 8.17 billion pesos, but if we use PCOS, the total cost would be 8.49 billion, so there is a deficit of 320 million. Effectively, the DBM decided for COMELEC that, no, you just exercise the OTP because it's the money that you have. Next. So we also looked at what is the cost of the OTP, including the maintenance and warehousing costs. The overall cost for equipment, maintenance, and warehousing is 2.3 billion. Now, for the maintenance, you'll note that the number is 4 because we will do that every 6 months, and for 2 years, that would translate to 45,200,000 pesos. For warehousing, it's 27 months at 1.1 million for 30 million total. Now, when we computed the warehousing with racking system costs, we did not include the entire Santa Rosa warehouse because the Santa Rosa warehouse also has other items stored. So we just took the area where the BCMs are stored, and that is the total cost per month, 1.1 million pesos. Next. So for the lease of the new machines, it's 5.677, but if you consider the warehousing of 2.3, it's still cheaper than leasing the new machines. Next. So here is our status. We have completed the hardware acceptance test of all machines that we will be using in 2019. The enhancement of the systems, which I showed earlier, started last February, and we expect to end on October 31. There are, I think, 80 enhancements. For the bidding, it stretches from May 2 up to December 31. We have completed the bidding for SD cards, thermal paper, and external battery. Ongoing is the bidding for election results transmission system, and ongoing also is the bidding for ballot paper and marking pen. For other goods and services, the bidding is expected to end on December 31 of this year. Next. We have started our laboratory test at the Palacio del Gobernador. That's August 1, and we will be completed by November 10. The local source code review, we want to start it on September 1. if you recall, Your Honors, the source code review for the 2016 elections, I think started on October. Yes, sir. And for the 2016 source code review, it stretched for about 7 months because of the numerous changes. In fact, even in March, there was a change because of the decision of the Supreme Court to issue the voter receipt. So we also have the review to be made by the International Certification Entity, and we hope to start it on September 15. The CAC, we were informed, already has a short list of international certification entities from which the COMELEC may choose through limited source bidding. Next. Filing of certificates of candidacy is on October 1 to 5. Then after we have completed all those review, we will conduct field tests on December 1 using the exact system which we will be adopting for the May 2019 elections. The final trusted build is an activity conducted by the International Certification Entity. That would be December 15 to 17. If you recall, Your Honors, when the SLI, Systems Lab Incorporated, or our eyes for the 2016 elections, conducted the final trusted build, it actually compiled all the software applications comprising the AES system. And after that compilation, the SLI would conduct the final trusted build and save all the applications in a CD. That CD is the one that we store at the central bank vault. Now, when the SLI compiled all the applications, it generated hash codes. They printed it out. Everyone present signed. We distributed it, the printout, to the parties, and they were told, if you want to make sure that the VCM we will be using has not been changed, then just look at the hash code in your possession, because when you turn on the VCM, that hash code will come out. It will also come out when you conduct the diagnostic tests. It will also come out during the FTS. It will also come out in the printing of the ERs. In which case, they were given that security, and all they had to do was take a look. I don't know if they did it, but anyway, the next activity would be our mock elections and the printing of the official ballots, including the final testing and sealing ballots, would be beginning January 22 to April 30. This pre-logic and accurate... Yes, sir?
Yes, Director. Can you enlighten us what consists of an actual field test on December 1, 2018?
Sir, for the field test, this is an internal activity by the COMELEC, just to determine what are the, if there would be some problems. The mock elections, which is, can we go back to mock elections?
So December 1, 2018 field test is similar to a mock elections?
No, sir. Well, yes, sir, but it's internal only with respect to, on the part of the COMELEC. The mock elections will be the ones where the media and the actual voters will be participating. So, kumbaga testing lang muna yan, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Then we'll have the trainings, deployment up to election day. Final testing and sealing will be May 6 to May 10. And we will be preparing all the voting, counting, and canvassing sites in the month of April. Next. So we now go to the COMELEC website hacking. What was hacked was our website, www.comelec.gov.ph. The contents of the website are the following. We have voter registration information, such as the application form, the templates of the application forms to be used, and instructions on how to register. COMELEC procurement activities, such as invitations to bid, notices of award, personnel movements for vacancies, resolutions on the conduct of elections, and the voter database for precinct finder. The precinct finder is accessed by the public to determine where they are assigned, the precinct where they are assigned, using their names and birthday. And that voter database did not include biometrics, just demographics, name, precinct assignment, and address to search. Then we have the database of the applicants for the iRehistro. iRehistro is used by our overseas voters, and the purpose only is to get an appointment with the Department of Foreign Affairs, and there is no database in that system. Next. So what happened after the hacking was we physically shut down the website. We changed all the passwords. We adjusted the security protocols and temporarily turned off all the database search related services. I think it is important also to note that that website, in fact, and our existing website, is different from the public website where the public can view the results of the elections. Next slide. So we now have technical support. Then, because of the possible breach, we have notified all the affected data subjects. And we subscribe to Cloudflare or a web application firewall. Next. The DICT is also involved in the corrective measures. We have requested the DICT to conduct penetration test and vulnerability assessment. DICT is actually web hosting our website, and our arrangement with the DICT is that before we publish any application, like for example Precinct Finder, the DICT should conduct a thorough source code review, and once we are given clearance, that's the only time we will include it in our web-related services. Next. On the voters database, okay, as I mentioned earlier, the voter database, which contains the demographics and the biometrics, is contained in a separate and independent server. It's not connected to our website. And there are 57.4 million active records as of December 2017. There have been deletions made, transfers, so that is the current data that we have right now. Next. Then we have generated 2.5 million AFIS hits, multiple registrants, and out of that 2.5 million, 1.5 hit records have already been deleted, and there is a continuing process of deletion. The database has also been encrypted as directed by the National Privacy Commission. Then we have been modifying and developing APIS applications to allow processing of encrypted data, and only authorized users can access our database. Through a multi-factor user authentication, meaning the user should be able to access it only if the system sees or matches his biometrics, he gives the correct username and the correct password. We also have physical security on surveillance and use of biometric door access, including security personnel outside of the data center. Next. That is all, Your Honor. Thank you.
For the information of everybody, we included the hacking incident because there's a specific Senate resolution asking that we find out what happened. Okay. So the Data Privacy Commission recommended the filing of criminal charges against your then chairman. So
yes, sir.
Okay. So ganun pala kahalaga yan, ha? If your agency gets hacked, it's the head of the agency which will face the criminal charges. Okay, Senator Trillanes. I will now recognize Senator Trillanes ahead of everybody else because it is his birthday today. Okay, so happy birthday, Senator Trillanes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you po. I would just like to ask Executive Director Tolentino along the lines of the hacking. How are we sure that it's not gonna happen again? And is there a way to insulate the database of the COMELEC from, let's say, another viral attack or cyber attack? And is there a backup in place so that we can get the system up and running even if such an attack is successful?
Good morning, sir. Happy birthday po. We are now being hosted by the DICT. Unlike before when we just hosted our own website. And I think Yusek Rio will be very proud to say that as of now, no one has ever been able to get into their system. So aside from that, Your Honor, we have a backup of the database, and it's separate. It's not connected to any website. We were only hacked because, Your Honor, we had the Find Precinct application to allow the public to search their precinct assignments. So right now, the DICT has reviewed.
And so in short, we're good. We're good.
Yes,
we're
sir.
protected, and we can respond accordingly in case of future attacks.
Yes, sir.
And what about that hacking? Did it in any way affect whether the election results or anything significant?
No, sir. It did not affect the 2016 elections because that website is not connected in any way to our automated election system.
So if
it's just a list of the voters, Your Honor.
Okay. So, but it was already corrected?
Yes, sir.
So it did not deceive or mislead the COMELEC as an election body? No.
Well, there are quarters, Your Honor, which claim that it affected the integrity of the elections. But as I mentioned earlier, the database is not connected in any way to our automated election system. So it did not affect the elections, Your Honor.
Understood.
Can I ask questions about the source code? Source code is a review of the programs, di ba? How many programs or software must be reviewed connected with the AES?
We have the election management system, that's one. The consolidated and canvassing system, and the vote counting machine system. But in all those three main systems, they have smaller systems such as accuracy, whether the system can detect votes that have already been previously read so that the BCM can reject it. Those kinds of smaller applications, Your Honor.
Hagip na yan in the source code review.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we talk about source code review, actually you're telling all the participants in the election that there are three main softwares or three main programs that we have to be interested in reviewing the source code. Tama po yun, yung binanggit nyo. EMS, CCS, and BCM. Okay. Now, how much time are we giving for source code review?
We gave about a 3-month period, Your Honor, September up to December, because we expect that by September, we will already give them not only the base source code, but the source code that we will be using. Yung meron na pong mga enhancements, unlike for 2016, what we gave last October was just the base code. So it's still subject to improvement.
Kaya nga, okay, there is the base code plus 80 enhancements. Nagsasabi mo, 80 enhancements gagawin ninyo. Then when you now incorporate this into the program, you will now release it now for the political parties to review. Are we talking about one program or three programs to be reviewed?
All na, sir. All three.
All three, tama.
Yes,
so you find that this is sufficient time for them for the stakeholders to review it. September 15 ang start. 'Di ba? September 15 ang plano nyo?
1.
September 1. Okay na yan.
Sir, kung gusto nila magpa-extend, pwede naman. If they feel that they're not yet satisfied with their review, but then by the end of December, after the international certification entity has certified that the system runs properly, accurately, and securely, then yung kanilang review would be done after, but no more changes can be made.
Question. Kaninong phone ba yan? Can we have some discipline? Put on silent mode, please, your cell phones. Okay. Last time you said the last election, the international certifying entity compiled programs, saved them in a CD, and then submitted it to the Central Bank for safekeeping. But then the Supreme Court decision came out. When did the Supreme Court decision requiring the voters' receipt come out? After the compiling? After, di ba? Therefore,
no, sir. The issuance of the voter receipt is already part of the system. All that we did was to turn it on. So when there was a review, that functionality was reviewed by the ICE, International Certification Entity. We didn't want to use the voter receipt because we were thinking that it will delay the process when the voter will still have to wait in line to get his receipt. And
turning on that feature did not require a modification of the program.
No,
Yun ang gusto yung tanong ko. So, hash code will remain the same even if you've turned that on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yun lang po.
Kaya po hindi na natin nalagyan din ng security features yung receipt, or because that will require a change of the source code, so there should be a new certification.
So, on and offline yung amin, which did not require the change of the hash.
Yes, so yun na nga. So the hash number generated would have still be the same even if you did something pursuant to a Supreme Court decision. Yun po, klaro yun. Ha?
Yes, sir.
We will listen to the experts later. But, okay, from what has been discussed during the first JCOC hearing, you said that COMELEC does not know if it is the backup SD card or the main SD card which is being used in the transmission. Hindi nyo alam. You never know. You have to look at the minutes of voting, sabi nyo. But can that be part of the enhancement that we will know which card is transmitting? The card will identify through the machine, I am the main card, and then I am the backup card. So that when we now look at the statistics on how many backup SD cards were used in the transmission, when we generate the data, we will now see. And then we will now find out what happened to the main SD card. Maybe we have been purchasing substandard or inferior main SD cards na nag-corrupt, nag-melt, or whatever. So that's why we were using the backup SD card. So I don't know if that can be done.
We will try to incorporate that in our enhancements, but no commitment lang po. Because we're not sure if that can still be done or accommodated.
It's too late?
I think so.
Diba software lang yan? Have we bought the SD cards? Have we bought the main and then the backup?
We have already completed the public bidding for main and backup SD cards.
But this is just the physical, di ba?
Yes, sir.
But you do something with the cards, right? You install some software or some file in the card?
We'll try to find out if that would be available in the configuration. Because, sir, if you'll note, unlike before, when we have to back up the main SD card, the current system has more or less simultaneous saving. So when there is more or less simultaneous saving of data in both cards, you really wouldn't know which is the main and which is the backup.
Unless from the very start, you now put something in those cards which will say, I am a main card SD card, I am a backup SD card. Because that's one of the issues raised by Senator Cheese, is that para malaman ninyo issue, no, hindi pa proven, hindi proven, that he says that they do not, the main SD card and the backup SD card, which should contain similar files or images, there are instances when they do not. Yun ang point niya. So that's when una niya munang tanong, I want to know, SD backup ba yung nag-transmit o hindi? So maybe that's, I don't know if that's an important enhancement, but please take a look at that.
Yes, sir. Our IT director has advised me that that could be done through our configuration. We will do this.
Yeah. Director, to amplify Chairman Pimentel's query, bakit po hindi pa siya simultaneous na saving? I mean, to our IT personnel. Kumbaga, the way I understand it, if there's a machine, nandun na yung main SD card, and then nandun din yung backup card niya, bakit, halimbawa, nagpasok ka na ng balota mo ron, at binasa siya, at yun yung pinaka-brain nung, o parang saving device nung makina, bakit ho hindi pa siya sabay na nagsisave? I mean, I'm just inferring from what you said earlier that it does not save at the same time.
Yes, sir. We have actually...
Kasi kung gagamitin natin po ang kung gagamitin natin whether, kumbaga, the same lang naman po yan eh.
Yes, sir. That issue was also raised before, and we asked the Technical Evaluation Committee, then headed by Engineer Peter Banson, and he said that the difference is just milliseconds, and in IT, it's more or less simultaneous. It is simultaneous. I think it's here. Here. Engineer Banson is here.
Mr. Banson first. Explain what is meant by simultaneous in the IT world.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. One of the differences of the 2016 vote counting machines compared to the 2010 and 13 PCOS machines is the capability to write, save data, election results, including the ballot images, on two memory cards simultaneously, so at the same time. So to verify this, we looked at the design of the hardware, the circuit schematic. We installed the electronic test instruments to look at the waveforms as the machine was writing, and we verified that data is being stored at the same time.
Simultaneous talaga as the word ordinarily means. Okay. Any from the members first of the panel.
Well, we will give opportunities to those who have not asked their questions.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Ms. Acol. Ms. Maricor Acol of AES Watch.
Yes, regarding the source code review, what is being done now is you are asked to just read the codes. You're not allowed to test the codes. So what we're saying is that you're going to read hundred thousands of lines. A programmer to be able to see whether there is an embedded software there or not, there's a routine, must be able to test it. So we are saying that the source code review being expounded by COMELEC and Smartmatic is restricted really for you to just go in without any códigos, without anything, so that you will just read the codes. That's highly impossible. Okay, even the best programmer cannot read all those codes and see whether there is an embedded routine there for cheating. Another thing, it's a pity that the JCOC was convened only in 2018. In the law, it should have been 6 months after so that we could evaluate the automated election system. And we had many observations and recommendations that should have been inputted so that they did not have to buy again the VCM. We actually met and crafted amendments to the law, which we submitted because this was together with Inky Reyes of Senator Gordon. We actually submitted, but today it will be very difficult to implement that because we were counting on timing. Okay, so many amendments to the law because RA 9369, sorry to say, is actually in favor. It's catch-22. If you try to test the system, you're going to be held for electoral sabotage. Okay, so therefore, we wanted to amend the law and put penalties as well. Because if there's no penalty, people go about, manipulating the system. And so we would try to, maybe it's too late to amend the law, but try to come out with several ways to improve the performance of Smartmatic COMELEC.
The other side. Yes, former Governor Villaperte.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have several questions. In the presentation, it said there that they are considering various options that can be used for 2019. But in the end, they said that they already exercised the option to purchase the existing machines. Now, is it too late now to have an option that is different from the present system, considering that there are Supreme Court cases that have been filed which seeks to annul, rescind, or nullify the exercise by the COMELEC of the option to purchase the machine? So what will happen? What contingency plans are related to that? My second question, I'm asking 5 questions, Your Honor, simultaneously because they are all related. Maricor Acol mentioned in last hearing that there are safeguards in the existing law that, apart from the review of the source code, but have not been implemented. And that is the cause for vulnerability to fraud, irregularities, and anomalies. So what reforms are going to be made in order that all those safeguards will be implemented, apart from additional amendments that may have to be proposed in Congress? And what are the accountabilities of COMELEC for refusing or failing to input all those safeguards? Number 3, Your Honor, I am a Protestant in electoral protest, and it took more than 2 years before I could get a decrypted copies of the files and documents related to the election process. And the decrypted documents, Your Honor, includes, number 1, the ballot image of the ballots inserted in the VCM. Then there's the ballot list, which should provide for a sequential numbering of the ID numbers of the ballots, which did not happen. Then the computer electronically generated election return, which are based from the captured image, the statistical report, the audit report, which is and the audit logs, which are the black box of the election process. And many of these irregularities, Your Honor, have been discovered after the decryption. No, anybody who did not file an election protest will never know what irregularities, anomalies, and fraudulent acts were committed. And these were done ostensibly with the cooperation of the COMELEC and Smartmatic, because they were there in the machine. For example, it is provided in the law that there should be a digital signature of the chairman of the BEI, the poll clerk, and the member. And that authentication through the digital signature will be the basis for the proclamation of the purported winner. In our case, the 3 did not put in any digital signature in all the precincts in my district. So why was it that the machine captured the results and had a electronically generated election return without the authentication? These are only one of 14 anomalies and irregularities that we discovered. That is why I propose that as part of the reform, that any Protestant must automatically be entitled to receive the decrypted files and documents that underlie the election process, and not delay it for 2 years, where changes could be made, substitutions could be undertaken. These are part of the reforms that I would heartily recommend. Finally, Your Honor, in the facsimile of the ballots, it says there, itimin ang loob ng oval. But in the decrypted image capture of the ballot, there is no oval. There were squares. So it is not a faithful reproduction. It is not an exact replica of what is purportedly being optically scanned. And the scanning machine also has a counting machine under the present system. And what is being counted is what is already pre-programmed, not the ballots that have been inserted. So these are my questions on what reforms can be undertaken in the light of all of this, Your Honor.
We'd like to take advantage of your experience as a Protestant. If you have time, can you prepare a position paper for us?
Yes,
capturing all of those 14 recommendations
yes,
that you have.
Your Honor.
Thank
yes,
you,
Your Honor.
thank you. Can we get a reaction from the COMELEC, please?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Sir, I'll start from the last one on the square. The square is a the square is to facilitate the visual determination of how the machine appreciated the ballot, the votes, or the shade. Now, unlike before, you will just see the shades, and then you go at the bottom part of the digital image where it states there in words how the machine read the ballot. So, andun yung pangalan ng candidates. Now here, in our system where we have the squares, just by looking at the digital image, you will already know that the machine
counted the vote in favor of this candidate. And if you will look at the bottom or the third page of the digital image, it will match. So it's just to facilitate visual determination of how the machine read the ballots. Now, with respect to pre-programmed results, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to do that, the application to be placed in the VCM should already have a different, or in the SD card, different na sana yung hash code niya. Because even just by adding or removing one comma from the code, the entire hash code will be changed. So that's why we gave them that piece of paper for them to verify pag-open ng VCM, pag-print ng reports, if there was really any change. But obviously, there's none. So it's just an allegation, Your Honor.
Question muna dyan. So you're saying that if you count the squares, yun yung votes counted, it will match. You count the squares, it will match the votes in words at the bottom. Yun ang sabihin.
Yes,
okay.
yes, sir.
But the COMELEC never announced to the entire world that there will be squares in the scanned images?
It's part of the, it was shown during the source code review. Local source code.
Kasi siyempre ang impression namin when we went into the election is that the images which will be saved in the SD cards would be the scanned images of the ballot. Sa ballot nga, wala namang square. Paglabas nung may square. Kaya mga protestante magtataka saan galing yung square.
Yes, sir. Well, we expected that the source code reviewers, the local reviewers, are representing political parties. In fact, they would say that they're from this party, this party. We showed that. It was available then. It was also reviewed by the SLI. We didn't hide that functionality, Your Honor.
May I react quickly?
Excuse me. Okay, Congressman Villaferte, for a short, very brief, please.
The law provides for an optical scanning of the ballot inserted. So no alteration can be made. If the design of the BCM to the SD cards allows the COMELEC to insert anything there like a square, they can also insert any kind of shade. In my election protest, which I will present to this committee, there are perfect circles, which is impossible to be done by many voters inside the square. And number two, there are only dots that are being recognized and counted. So that is the defect. Now, the sequential ID numbers of the ballots inserted, they are jumping. And in my district, we discovered that there are at least 35,000 ballots that have been removed and then replacements were made in the end. So that the number of ballots have exceeded.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman Villaferte. He is my senior in Congress, in the 15th Congress. Anyway, we'd like to acknowledge first Senator Trillanes.
The bird.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, for your generosity. Anyway, we heard some of the allegations and the observations of these experts and the Protestants, and it's very, very important. I can empathize with all the Protestants in past elections. But at the end of the day, I'd like to ask the COMELEC, of the four automated elections that we had, and all the protests that were made, meron ba kayo isang protest, electoral protest, na nakita talaga na may discrepancy? Kasi at the end of the day, yun importante. While, sabi ko nga, importante rin yung mga observations nila na hindi nasusunod, strictly speaking. But at the end of the day, meron bang na-reverse because of that?
Wala pong results na na-reverse coming from the courts, COMELEC, or the HRET.
So in short, may mga observations, may mga allegations, and although some of them are valid, but
pagkabinilang yung actual ballots and compare it with the results na transmitted, walang nagkaiba?
There was an instance, Your Honor, wherein we saw what we call the digital lines. Okay, and in that digital line, the image would show that a particle, a dirt probably, or ink, was stuck on the mylar, or this protective film, in which case the machine saw it as one straight line, and if it hits all the ovals, and for that position it says vote for one, and he voted somewhere else, then it becomes an overvote. So there will now be differences. However, what we'd like to point out is the machine still counted it accurately. It just so happened that there was this digital line caused by some dirt or ink in the mylar film. Now, for the 2016 elections, Your Honor, our VCM does not have any mylar or protective film. It's a non-contact scanner, in which case you will not see any smudge or line in the digital image.
The question is related to protest, so the set is here. Just in case you have some inputs to the discussion, ma'am. Attorney Valera?
Yes, Your Honors. With respect to the printed picture images of the ballots, we had the occasion to observe, as what was mentioned earlier by the executive director of the COMELEC. There is this square appearing in the digital image, and when we compared this with the actual paper ballots, the votes counted by the VCM would tally with the picture image. So, with respect to we can speak only of the areas protested by Protestant Tolentino. So as to the other areas, we cannot speak for that. But as far as the protested areas are concerned, there's a match between the actual paper ballot and the digital image, Your Honors.
Si Attorney Oy kasi was in the... Si Attorney Oy muna, do you confirm that statement that political parties were... sige, Attorney Oy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, the political parties were invited to do the source code review. And just to connect with the question of the Chair, we reviewed three software, no? 3 components. However, it would seem that there are other software that's running the system that's not part of the 3. For instance, we never detected anything until it appeared in during election day. So, where did what software was running that anything? Why? Because we did not see it in the source code review. So, was it running a different software? Second is that regarding the square on the ballot image, the basis for having an optical scan of the paper ballot is that you will have a faithful reproduction of whatever is in the paper. There should be no alterations, insertion or deletion. If there's any insertion or deletion of any image on that image ballot, that would render that image questionable, because you have now the ability to edit. And if we had seen that in the source code, we would have objected to it immediately, because you have the ability now to tamper if you have that, and we would have objected. We did not see that in the source code review.
Was it mentioned that there will be possibility?
No, we were not apprised of any information that there will be an insertion or a deletion on the image. Based on a review, that image should be a complete, faithful reproduction Third, by inserting a square, you're actually leading any revisor to be biased, because the revisor should see the ballot objectively and assess by themselves where the shading is. By already providing a square there, the revisors will now tend to follow where the square is. So those are the issues. Now, with respect to the SD card, Mr. Chair, you were mentioning whether it's the original or the main or the backup. It's easy to distinguish because one is a worm and the other is not. One is a worm drive and the other is not. So you would know which
But the
one.
question of Senator Cheese was, do you know which card has been used in the transmission? Ang sagot, hindi. Diwin na sabi hindi na. So, hindi alam. But because there's a particular issue where this is now important. Yung issue niya is that the backup card does not contain mirror images of the main card. So if the backup card was used in the transmission, then we are not transmitting accurate results. Yun ang point niya. So we should know. So, but at least it will be an enhancement. So, Mr.
Your Honor,
are you done?
One final comment, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. Is Attorney Uy done with his comments?
Yes, we'd like to recognize Mr. Casino of the Philippine Computer Society. You are recognized, Mr.
Thank you, Your Honors. Let us be consistent what the 1987 Constitution have stated, that the creation of the COMELEC was a quasi-judicial office. And as a quasi-judicial office, their responsibility is to practice judicial functions. Now, when the Republic Act 8436 was created and later was amended to Republic Act 9369, what it stated was to authorize the COMELEC to do the procurement. But when you come to project management, as what was recommended by Director or USEC Rio, to be outsourced outside COMELEC, COMELEC does not have the competency, nor the know-how, nor the literacy to understand the mechanics and the intricacies of a computer. Now that was raised by Governor Villaferte about the square, what we in the industry look into is YCWIG, WSIWYG, which stands for what you see is what you get. Meaning, whatever has been scanned by the system, it should be reflect the actual image. So the question of the good Senator Celebrant Trillanes, whether there were any judgment on any protest done, by all means, they are the prosecutor, juror, and judge, and they will not be able to come up with a clear and independent result. So we're saying here, in this body, that we have to separate that, and that's why the recommendation of my colleague, Dr. Nelson Celis, that the creation of Department of ICT under Republic Act 10844 gives them the opportunity and the power to be the ones to select who would be the independent project management office that has the capability and competency. And what we have seen from the past 3 elections or 4 elections is the proven incapability of Smartmatic. Because under the law, it has shown, it is required that the provider, the one that COMELEC procures, must have a proven capability. But all the errors and the gaps that we have seen is really outrageous, that it projects that Smartmatic is never really competent. And why are we still allowing COMELEC to exercise the option to purchase for the 4th time and to review and for the in 7, when the Republic Act 9369 was passed, the COMELEC Advisory Council said we have no time to implement, and it's 4 months' time. COMELEC was able to revert back to manual system and still able to create the election of 2007 running on a manual when the Republic Act 9369 was passed into law in 2007, January. So even right now, as of this month, August, we can say that if COMELEC would revert back to manual counting and tallying, the transmission can be done by an independent body, And we can have the results and can be seen. And let me add to the expose of Majority Leader Senator Soto, who then and now Senate President, that he said there are 7 hubs. Those 7 hubs that we did not know, the public never knew, that is the potential to reflect the vote of from the very, very councilor of each precinct to the city, to the provinces, as well as to the national, that everybody can see whether it really reflects exactly the same. But what we have is just a round total without really noticing what has happened. And we can see that from the vice presidential candidate in the person of Vice President Bongbong Marcos, who was leading by 1 million, and then the insertion of that NJ in the middle of a live transmission, by all means, by God, that is a violation. You don't do that in a live transmission on production run, because that is direct tampering. And what you should have done, you should have stopped counting and just remain whatever is the outcome of that result and make that thing be the final results, because beyond that, that is subject for digital forensics, and that has never been happened in this case. I'm sorry, but this thing is we're looking like fools in this body. We are experts in this field. We represent among ourselves 1,500,000 IT professionals in the country. We know our business, and we know our trade. And the rest of the people here act as if they know what they're talking about. And the problem is they don't know what they're talking about. They're just being led by this vendor, a foreigner, for that matter, whose nationality is not even a Filipino. I'm sorry for this passion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casino.
Your Honor,
What does the COMELEC and Secretary Rio say in relation to the possibility and the legality of a project manager not coming directly from the constitutional body, which is tasked to spearhead our elections? Let me start with I think Commissioner Louis Guia, Attorney Guia.
Okay, whatever decision we made was based on our assessment as to what the law is, what our mandate is under the Constitution, and our appreciation not only of the present technology conditions, but also our assessment of how we can make the elections generally credible. That was our basis, and we have factored all these things. Now, when we made the decision, we had different opinions on how to approach these things, but for now, there is one COMELEC, there is one country. We were asked to run the elections, and we're doing it the best way we can to discharge our mandate, and we are putting ourselves in front of the public, and we will be accountable for all our decisions.
Just one more comment.
For a while, Congressman Villaferte,
Yes, Your Honor.
I will refer back to Executive Director Tolentino in relation to the CAC report, wherein it gives an opportunity also. I saw here that, and this will be validated by Secretary Rio, that with respect to software technology, they also recommended that local software providers should also be considered. What do you say about that in relation to our current situation? It was raised by Mr. Casino earlier.
Sir, we have allowed one of the institutions that wanted to conduct a hybrid election system, which will require the development of a local source code or application, is PATAS. And as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, Your Honor, the PATAS failed. So I don't think COMELEC should be faulted for trying to choose a technology or a system which has proven to be a failure.
No.
Excuse me?
That's not true.
Okay, so I will pursue a point raised by Attorney Uy. Ilan ba talaga ang software na tumatakbo na kailangan alam ng political parties at i-test ang source code o basahin ang source code at i-test? Yun ang point naman ni Ms. Acol na not only read. We mentioned 3 major. So, pero ang tanong nga, meron pa bang iba? So, let's have a full disclosure here. If you need to ask the provider or the contractor, Smartmatic, what is the correct answer? Sabihin na natin, how many software programs are running, all in all?
Yes, sir. We mentioned already 3. And then, because those are the applications related to the system of counting, canvassing, and consolidation. Now, we have also required the bidder for the election results transmission system to make its source code ready before September 1 because we will include that in the source code review. Now, the statement about the ENYE, that is really not part of the source code because that is at the transparency server. Its only function is to get advance unofficial results. Now, the ENYE is not connected to our canvassing and consolidation system. So any script there made will not affect our elections. In fact, the CAC has already stated in its report that it did not affect. Maybe we can confirm that with USEC Rio.
Ito question ko. The ENYE problem was in the transparency server. In the official server, there was no ENYE problem.
None, sir.
Bakit ganon? Bakit hindi na foresee? Ba't nangyari pa yun? Kaya naman palang walang problema. Bakit sa transparency pa nangyari? Transparency for the entire country to see that we have a problem. Please answer me, how come nobody saw it, anticipated it, or noticed it?
Sir, can we just ask the Smartmatic, sir, to explain? Because I really cannot explain why that happened.
Chair.
I'm sorry.
Teka, the audience now, we will send you out if your purpose here is to heckle, make unnecessary noise and delay us or show your partisanship by clapping or cheering, okay? We will really send you out kasi paminsan-minsan na lang po itong GCOC hearing natin nadidistract po tayo.
Yes.
Mr. Senate President.
I echo the announcement of the Senate, the chairman of the committee, Senator Pimentel. Now, please refrain from clapping, hooting, or whatever, or even laughing. But that is a very good point that was just raised now. Let Smartmatic answer because to other people, the COMELEC seems to be the lawyer of Smartmatic. Most of the questions should be answered by them. So let them answer it. The guy who did the ENYE thing, I think, was from Smartmatic and not from COMELEC. Oh.
Tama yun. If the executive director says let Smartmatic answer, we will allow Smartmatic to answer. Who on behalf of Smartmatic will answer?
Morning, sir. This is Pravir. I will answer on behalf of Smartmatic.
Pravir, what's your family name, sir? Dahiya. Go ahead, sir. What happened here?
So in terms of knowing the error itself of the NEA, we were not aware. So we would admit it is an oversight, and that is something which could be only detected during the process. However, the conversion or the changes done definitely is something which is...
Wait, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
We cannot accept that it can only be found during the process. October, we started filing the certificate of candidacies. Many candidates nationwide had an ENYE in their names. Not only na Peñas or Rosbeña. So from October to May, You only find out, May, during the counting, that there's something wrong with the letter. It's unbelievable. So that you can open the transparency servers. We cannot accept that.
Okay, we will allow you, sir, to continue. But for example, I will just interject. For example, in a past election yata to, kailan yung single space, double space na binago natin yung mga SD card 1 week to go? I mean, 2013. We have field test. When you say you actually test the entire system, we have a mock election test. Test, and then we do not notice any problem. Smart Mati, go ahead, sir. We need your explanation on record.
So specifically on the transparency server, the NEA, we did not know about that specific issue. We discovered it only when it was pointed out by certain observers during the election. Yes, definitely it was a mistake to convert it immediately without transparently disclosing it. However, it definitely had no impact on the election results, as already pointed out by Director Tolentino.
Just one last...
Yes. Congressman, just finish your thesis. Yes, sir.
In answer to the inquiry as to whether there are already a case or cases where this irregularities, frauds in an automated election system had already been rendered, I just want to put in record that my election protest is still in process. And we hope that these anomalies and irregularities will be proven. For example, the difference between a manually elected system and an automated election system is that in a manual election, the concentration of an election protest is focused in the election ballot used. But in an automated election system, it is the entire process from the voting, counting, generation of electronic election return, to the canvassing, to the transmission to the municipal or city board of canvassers, to the transmission to the provincial board of canvassers, all the way to the national. We decrypted more than 600,000 pages, Your Honor, and it took many months under the supervision of the COMELEC, and we have a certification and authenticated by the HRET. Now, there are many incomplete audit logs, which are the brain, the black box in an election protest that goes to the entire process. It's not only the counting of the ballots, of the physical ballots, but the electronically generated election returns and the processes involved. I'll give you an example, Your Honor. In a clustered precinct in Naga City, numbered 172400001. This is how thin is the audit log, because there are too many events and incidents that occur that were not recorded. Compared to the same city, another precinct, number 2, where the audit log of one precinct consists of this whole thing, and all the anomalies are there. Not only the counting, but for example, there is no authentication of the 3 members of the BEI, which is the event that under the law should be the basis of proclamation. The audit log contains many defects, and they cannot cheat on the audit log. They can cheat on the election, but not on the audit log. And I'm surrendering this information to you, Your Honor.
But I repeat my request, sir, if we can benefit from your experience by giving us a position.
Thank you.
Attorney Chong. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I would like to bring this to the attention of the public, this committee. I think it was 2016 when Venezuela held a referendum, yung kay President Maduro, he was seeking to extend his term. The elections in Venezuela were run by Smartmatic itself. Then after the day after the elections, no less than the president of Smartmatic repudiated the results of his own machine. Ang sabi po niya, dinaya po yung referendum sa Venezuela. Siya po ang pangulo ng Smartmatic. I think it was Mojica, si Mojica, Antonio Mojica. They repudiated the results of their own machine. Kaya ho, nag-issue din ng statement ang Electoral Commission, Electoral Council of Venezuela, repudiating him kasi ang sabi niya, lumobo daw ng 1 milyon ang registered vote, ang bumoto sa referendum. So here we are already seeing what Smartmatic, that even Smartmatic itself can repudiate the elections, the results of their own elections, and here we are entertaining them for the 4th time. Pang-apat na po ito. Nakita na po natin yung resulta sa Venezuela last year. Now the other one, sir, is yung NA problem. Where is Marlon Garcia? May kaso na po sila sa Regional Trial Court, yung kinaso po ni Jonathan de la Cruz, former Congressman Jonathan de la Cruz, for violation of Republic Act 10175 or the anti-cybercrime offenses. Now, it's already pending with the Regional Trial Court. Of course, our court has no jurisdiction over Mr. Marlon Garcia because he was transferred to Panama bago po na-issue yung warrant of arrest. And then, we demand, at the very least, Marlon Garcia must be surrendered to the jurisdiction of our courts to make him answer for a crime which the Department of Justice has already ruled as having been committed. Kaya nga po, nasampa po ang kaso. Now, with respect po sa sinabi pong kanina po, sabi po nila enhancements. Sir, I have been studying them for the last 8 years. Hindi na ho ako naniniwala sa enhancements. Example, noong 2010 po, dalawa ang counter ng makina. Dalawa po ang counter talaga. One counts the votes, the other counts the ballots to make sure they match, na walang sobra yung balota. It's called protective counter. It's found in the audit log. The if entry, every time you switch on the machine, the if entry will tell you ilang balota na ang nabilang niya. Hindi boto, ilang balota na. In 2013, nandun pa yun. In 2016, wala na pong counter ng balota. So is that what you call an enhancement? That is not an enhancement because it does not promote auditability. The other one is ito pang font po ng audit log, sir. The font of the audit log in 2010 and 2013 was bigger. Mas madali ho siyang mabasa. Tingnan ho ninyo yung font ngayon. Ang liliit na. Kailangan mo na ng linti. Kailangan mo na ng linti para mo mabasa yung audit log. So that's the issue of enhancements. Now, with respect po sa kaninang tinanong po ni Senator Trillanes, happy birthday, sir, na hindi ho tayo magkalaban, sir. Yung voter database, nagtanong po si Senator Trillanes ng voter database, sir. I was given a video. I know the guy, you know this person because he is a well-known political personality. Na-record po niya yung pagbibenta po ng voters database ng election officer dati ng Marigondon, Cavite. Nakunan po ng CCTV yung picture po, and I have the pictures if you want to see it, Your Honors. I will show it kung if you will demand it. Nandoon po yung COMELEC logo, yung pangalan ng botante. Sinabi po kasi kanina nila na the voter database, the breach, did not include biometrics. Look at the picture, the biometrics was there. Nilalako po yun sa mga politiko. Paano po nilalako nila? Ganito, pinapakita po nila sa laptop na may hawak po silang voter database. Tapos ang benta po, bawat ulo. Tanggalin ho yung mga botante doon. Kung hindi man tanggalin, ilipat sa ibang presinto para mawin.
The Senate President wants to see your picture.
Yes, sir.
Sige.
I'll give the ano, sir.
You know, this is a very serious allegation. You have to present your evidence. Hindi kami pwedeng maniwala.
Your Honors, can I say something?
In the meantime, while they're preparing, yes,
General
Chairman
statement
Brillantes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I just want to make a general statement on legalities and constitutionalities. Kasi mahirap dito, magsasabi, bigay na natin dito yung gagawa. Magtatagalog lang ako ngayon kasi August ngayon. Tagalog month. Pakiusap, marunong din ako mag-English, hindi kasing galing ni Atty. Chong. Pero Tagalog ako. Merong constitutionality at saka legality. Ang basic proposition is hindi mo pwedeng ibigay ito maski kanino ang running ng election because the Constitution itself provides maliwanag. Enforcement, administration, pwedeng ipasa, i-deputize. Pero hindi pwedeng ibigay yung trabaho. Pwede natin i-deputize si computer kasi nyo, napakagaling niya. Di pwedeng i-deputize ng COMELEC Gusto niya, nandun siya, siya i-deputize. Okay lang. Walang problema yun. So the matter of transferring it to somebody is not constitutionally allowed. Isa. Pangalawa, there is a basic rule in election law. Basic yan nung 25-30 years ago sa mga desisyon ng Supreme Court. Ang sinasabi dito ganito sa election law, simple lang. Laws which are mandatory in character becomes directory after the elections. What does that mean? It's a very simple thing. Kasi naririnig ko si Atty. Akol, kaya kwento rito, ang daming violation. Ang dami. Noong 2010, what is the most basic violation of the law? Alam natin lahat yun. Source code. Hindi nagkaroon ng review ng source code noong 2010. Noong 2013, ako hong chairman, nagkaroon ng review 3 days before the elections. Halos wala. And yet, we have the elections. Because these mandatory rules on source code, mga ganitong kwan, hindi na nagiging mandatory to after the elections. What is important after the elections is the results. Results. Was it affected? Ang daming glitches na nangyayari eh. Ngayon yung mga, eto, madaming maingay dito sa atin. Daming nangyari, ganito ang violation. These are glitches. There is no perfect law. There will always be violation, even in the manual. Kaya lang, pagtapos na eleksyon, ang pakita nyo na apektuhan ba yung results. Kaya sinasabi namin all the time, when I was chairman, I keep on saying, daldal kayo ng daldal eh. Pakita nyo kami ng isang presinto na yung resulta ng election return na lumabas doon sa makina, yung first 8 na official results at saka yung 22 susunod. Iba ba yung resulta doon sa balota nung nagprotesta kayo o nung nagbilangan tayo? Wala, puro ingay eh. Puro ingay na ng ganito, hindi nasunod ito, hindi nasunod ito. Yes, but these are glitches, deficiencies, which can occur. Pero wag naman natin sabihin na dahil sa nagkaroon ng violation ng law, eh, wala na lahat sa eleksyon. Di sana hindi na tayo nagkaroon ng presidente noong 2010. Ang dami yung violation eh. Noong 2013, marami rin namang glitches and deficiencies. Pero huwag natin sabihin, eto, binayolate ang law, binayolate itong law. Eh, maski naman noong 1987, 1988, nagpa-practice na ako ng election law. Karaming violation ng election law. Pero pagtapos na, importante, ano ba resulta? Meron ba kayong mapapakita? Nagtatanong ako, meron sumagot dito. Yun daw resulta sa General Tino, natanggalan si Villanueva ng ganitong boto. Nandito tayo, Mr. Chairman, Coco Pimentel, nandito tinignan natin, pinatungan.
Tinignan natin.
Pinatungan yung balota, yung physical balota. Sinasabi, si Atty. Chong, lalabas ko dito yung kanyang statement. Sinasabi niya, yun daw, resulta doon sa General Tino, yun daw ang tama, yung physical ballot, as against the decrypted. Decrypted, walang boto si Villanueva, physical, meron. Sabi niya, itong physical daw ang tama. Nakita natin yung dito, linabas ko dito yun. Na maliwanag na shadan yung physical, wala doon sa decrypted. Paulit-ulit siya. You want to see what Mr. Chong is saying all the time? All that you have to do is open his Facebook, and everything that he's saying there, it's all there in his Facebook.
Okay, but we will make it a record. So, okay, we can go back.
I will bring in
Chairman,
all the Facebook.
thank you.
Let me just put in one on record para maliwanag lang, sir. Isa lang. Isa lang.
Yeah, just be short, be direct to the...
One final statement. May sinasabi si Atty. Chong dito na meron siyang mga kopya na balota. Umiikot siya sa buong Pilipinas eh. Pinakikita niya yung balota.
Your Honor, that is the subject of a criminal offense filed
353
against
ballots.
me. I invoke my right against self-incrimination, Your Honor.
Chairman, we are already...
353 ballots, sinisigaw niya, authentic ito. Ang tanong ko,
okay, Chairman, okay, let's go back to
ballots.
the topic na JCAS on the automated. Attorney Chong, your topic now is the picture that you mentioned. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Finally,
Thank
isang
you for
warning lang, sir,
presenting my
kay-
right. Thank you for preserving my right against self-incrimination and
yung may
procedural
protesta
due
sa
process.
HRET.
Attorney Chong, sir.
Take up the bawal yun eh. Maiipit yung kanya. Kliyente ko si Governor Villapuerte. Baka maiipit siya doon sa HRET by coming out now. With all...
Diba, he's taking the risk. Anyway, go ahead.
Can I reply to that?
It's a personal...
He mentioned my name. with all due respect to Attorney Brillas.
Just be brief, sir.
Yes. The principle that he said, that what is mandatory before the election becomes directory after the election, that ruling of the Supreme Court has been overturned and reversed by the Supreme Court itself in the Makiling case.
Okay, the committee will review that. Okay, the McKilling case. So, Attorney Chong, yung picture lang, upon the request of the Senate President. What is
Thank
that
you,
all
sir.
about?
Ito po yun. Actually, these are clips from a video that was given to me. I can give you the name later, sir, if you demand. The first part says Commission on Elections po yun, oh, yung nasa taas, that's a COMELEC logo. That's the left side, the upper left side, that's COMELEC logo. Sabi po nila, wala pong, yung bridge po, wala pong kasama ang biometrics. Take a look at the right. Nandun yung mukha, nandun yung picture ng botante, nandun yung thumb mark. Nandun yung thumb mark. These are biometrics, Your Honor. And then ito yung voter details, oh. Ang nagbibenta po nito, dating election officer ng Marigondon, Cavite. Naglalako po siya. This is in the Visayas, Your Honor. Ang racket po dito, magbabayad po yung kliyente ng bawat ulo. Ilang ulo ang tatanggalin dyan. Ililipat sa kabilang presinto para mawindang pagdating ng halalan. So, it's classic. Nangyari na po ito dati pa. Pero ngayon, pinapakita nila ito para maniwala. And remember, Your Honor, it's dated July 2015. A few months before the elections, 11 months before the elections. Then ang nangyari yung breach afterwards. It could be possible that the breach was actually a cover-up. Para kung mapakita ito, ang sasabihin nila, this occurred after the breach. But they were actually already making lako. Ang tawag ko po dyan, authorized dealer, Your Honor. Authorized dealers kasi may sanction ho yan sa taas. Pero Your Honor, the next slide please. Pindutin nyo po. Next slide. That is a copy of the consolidating and canvassing system, Your Honor, that's also floating around. Your Honor, that is a copy of the consolidation and canvassing system na nilalako din sa publiko, sa mga politiko. Sir, that's a consolidation and canvassing system. Hindi na po yan makina-makina. That's the consolidating system. Tingnan ho ninyo, Smartmatic, and look at the bottom. The hash of the app is valid. Nandyan sa baba. Yeah, sa baba. To the bottom left, nandyan. The hash of the app is valid. Kumakalat po yan, Your Honor. And don't tell me the COMELEC does not know. Bakit ako? Hindi ako kasama nila. Nakakakuha ako ng ganyan. Nakakapalabas ako ng ganito. Tingnan ho ninyo, Your Honor. Ang tawag ko po dyan, independent contractors. Kasi yung kanina, authorized dealer po yon. Ito naman, ang naglalako dito, independent contractors kasi na naghahanap buhay po ito. So, that is what I'm trying to say, Your Honor. The automated election system of Smartmatic is full of holes. Na kung ito'y barko, lumubog na po ito kahit hindi pa nakaalis ng pantalan. And even their presentation, Your Honor, I would like to request, Your Honor, the presentation of COMELEC, I would like to get also a copy of it because we will refute, specifically with respect to the transmission project, Your Honor. The transmission project noong 2016 is only 558 million. Bakit lumubo yan ngayon to 1.181 billion or an increase of 113%? Yung papel din po, Your Honor, ng BBPAT, yung voter's receipt, the lowest bid price in 2016 was only 49.5 million. Bakit ang budget ngayon 117.4 million or an increase of 137%? That is not acceptable, Your Honor. We have to save money because the people are suffering also from the effects of whatever else they are blaming, although it's not, kailangan, we want this evidence, Your Honor, because kakasuhan din namin ng plunder itong mga gumagawa nito, Your Honor.
Attorney Guevara, Hubert.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dito po sa kwartong ito, 3 tao lang ang talagang consistently attending the source code review na masasabi kong pwedeng makapagbigay ng karapat-dapat at tumpak na experience nung kanilang pagpunta sa Delasal during the source code review. At yun po si Atty. Ivan Uy at ang representative ng Liberal Party, si Atty. Arthur Elizer, who is also in the room, I understand. We were both representing different political parties at the time, and we were just comparing notes. on what actually was happening during the time. On the transparency server issue, it comes to a surprise to me right now to hear that you have an NE seen on the transparency server but not seen in the COMELEC server. Unfortunately, we're only using one component, which is the election management system. The election management system, as mentioned earlier, is one of the components that underwent the source code review. There are three components: election management system, the VCM, and the CCS. The election management system is the brainchild, is the brains of all the servers, of even the CCS and even the VCM. And yet, you have a transparency server that was not even part of the EMS. Now, bakit naging ganun? Bakit pagkahiwalay si transparency server at hindi sinama sa EMS? Another question dito is, kung nakapag-access ka remotely ng transparency server, what more to be able to access remotely ng COMELEC server? It's possible that you were able to access the transparency server by changing the NE, the question mark to NE, and at the same time, to my mind, you were able to also access remotely the COMELEC server. How do we know that? How we will know that? We will not know that until after we do an audit log, an audit of all the servers. That's why we've been asking since day one, when that night happened, pwede ba namin makuha lahat ng audit logs? Because that's the only way you will be able to find out what fix was made inside the COMELEC server, how many intrusions were made inside the server. Okay, August 1 lang binigay. Now,
Fix made in the COMELEC server? Meron ba?
That's why, sir, what we're saying is,
you look at the log.
we have to look at the logs to be able to find out if there are any intrusions made in the COMELEC server, which only in August 1 lang, sir, binigay. And we've been asking this for quite some time already. Now,
Teka. Before I will allow you to continue, but as a COMELEC, the Senate President wants to know, can the audit log be made accessible to interested parties? Audit log lang naman ito to see the activity of the COMELEC server.
I-check ko, sir, because that might be covered by the precautionary protection order of the PET. Sir, if you'll note the PPO of the PET, it covers a lot of things. In fact, it even covers the VCM, which does not contain data. Covered yun. And then SD cards. Any logs. So we'll just have to secure authority. And if they will give us, then...
Authority from whom, Mr. Chair?
The Presidential Electoral Tribunal, sir.
What if we issue a subpoena ducis tecum by the Senate? Therefore, Mr. Chair, I suggest that you write my office for a request for a subpoena ducis tecum.
We will do that. Sige. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman.
Since it's Attorney Guevara who is speaking right now, and he represents Philippine Computer Society, this representation on behalf of the House panel would like to be enlightened, Director Tolentino, in relation to the local source code review. So for 2019, can you please guide us? The way I understand it, currently, the COMELEC has already exercised the option to purchase the machines. So for 2019 ho, paano ba ang gagawin natin in relation sa pagpasok ng mga local source code reviewers natin? Ibig sabihin, kung 97,000 or 95,000 ang gagamiting makina para sa national and local elections, paano po na-check and balance yung software na inilalagay dito? Considering na sa iba-ibang mga jurisdiction ho, iba-iba ang mga laman yan. Siyempre, para dito sa probinsya na nasa norte, iba ang mga kandidato, iba ang nasa Region 3, iba ang nasa Visayas, iba ang nasa Mindanao. Pero nationally, may mga senador. So paano ho yan nire-review? Paano ba yan? For the benefit of para sa lahat ng mga ano natin, para maintindihan ho natin, paano ba yan nire-review na hindi siya pre-programmed, na siya, yung integrity niya? At paano po yung reviewing ano natin? Sino mga nagpupunta? Mga major political parties? Paano natin sila iniimbita? Kasi kaya ko naitatanong to, kasi very vital ho ito sa integrity ng ating electoral system eh. Ito yung preventive measure natin eh. Director Tolentino.
Tama po yun, no? Kaya dahil September 1 yung ating start nung source code review, by the middle of August, we will be coming out with a list of the credentials needed for a party to be accredited as a local code reviewer. Now, we should also take a look, sir, that there's not only one code review being undertaken. We have one local source code review, and another one is being conducted by the International Certification.
Thank you, Director. Okay po ako dun sa SLI Global Solutions na international. Hindi muna ako pupunta ron. Dito lang po muna ako sa local. Ibig sabihin, to make it simpler, more or less, we have 80 provinces here in the country. So halimbawa ho, magpapatesting yung COMELEC sa 80 provinces. Paano ang ginagawa natin para naman yung mga partido sa kada probinsya ay notified sila, partido represented by those who are knowledgeable dun sa mga computer systems, para malaman nila na yung mga makina, yung mga nakasulat doon, yung nakaprogram doon ay may integridad. So how do we do that on an operational level?
So ganito siya, no? Ang source code review is just the basic, parang 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3.
Opo, para siyang para siyang nung nagsisimula tayo mag-computer, yung Excel program,
Yes, sir. Pero
yung pagka meron kang gustong i-formula na gawin,
Yes,
yun
sir.
ang intindi ko, although I believe it's far complicated than that.
It's more complicated than that, sir. And then pagdating sa provincial, that would be based on the configuration. Like itong municipality na to, it goes up to the provincial, or if the city is component, it also goes to provincial. If the city is highly urbanized, it goes direct to, dyan po yung magiging sa configuration natin.
Well, ang tanong ko lang po, Director, I mean, paano nagkakaroon ng transparency at that point? Ibig sabihin, ngayon ho, hanggang May 13, 2019, siyam na buwan na lamang, maghahalala na. Nakasulat din ho sa batas na merong source code review. So, iimbitahan natin yung mga partido, isasama nila yung mga miyembro ng partido o mga taong may technical know-how pagdating sa mga computer, mga software. So, paano po ito? Yun lang ang gusto kong, this chair wants to know that, so that we will have credibility and integrity in our electoral system.
Sir, ang last time nangyari dyan is that one party would ask Smartmatic, I'd like to see the portion where this one goes here, parang mga ganon. And then, ipapakita yun. But the suggestion that the source code review be brought home for total review, I think that's it might be a violation of intellectual property.
Director, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm just asking yung sa ano natin, yung operational.
Yes, sir. So, for the layman who does not understand IT, they can still determine the accuracy and the integrity of the machines if they participate in the final testing and sealing. The final testing and sealing, our election officers will post notices in their respective municipalities stating the date and place where the final testing and sealing will be conducted. The public can go there. They can join the shading and find out if the machine accurately counts the ballot and prints out the results.
Director, you raised the issue of intellectual property. Whose intellectual property?
The developers.
Who specifically?
I think it would be the Smartmatic.
So, Smartmatic, okay.
So what
Did you even try to ask Smartmatic if they will allow the review of local source code reviewers and allow them to bring this to their labs for testing? I mean, did you ever take the side of the local source code reviewers by asking the intellectual property owner or holder that can you allow or not? I mean, tanong lang. Did you? Did COMELEC even think about that?
No, sir.
Kasi binabara na natin sila kaagad ng intellectual property. Malay mo, pumayag naman pala.
Yes, sir. We'll ask them. Well, we can ask them now.
Mr. Pravir, do you hold the intellectual property rights over the... my first question is, you're now familiar, this will be the fourth election to be run under the Smartmatic system. So you're now familiar with the way we run our system, right? You are?
Sure.
Okay. If I were to ask you, how many softwares or programs are involved in the Philippine automated election system that if you were the international certification authority, you would recommend that the source code of these programs be reviewed? How many programs?
Those are the three which we've been hearing in the last few minutes as well. The main heart is the EMS system, which also has been discussed. Then there is the CCS and the VCM. So all these three are the main softwares of the system altogether.
So how about those which are not main? You will not recommend that the source code be reviewed?
Not necessarily. Of course, there's a huge transmission network which carries the equipment. And the representatives from the Globe and PLDT are here. I'm sure their telecom networks also go through the same reviews before they are licensed. So they could probably have a similar system to provide the details, because that is where the information carries from.
So we stick to the three main. Who is the intellectual property holder of the three main systems?
It is Smartmatic, sir.
So is there any problem if you allow our source code reviewers to bring this home or into their labs for your software to be tested?
We will consider the detail of how it can be done and what can be done. We will support in whichever way it can bring in more transparency and accuracy in the system, no problem at all. However, we'll have to evaluate how we do it and what terms of reference we follow.
Yeah, please, because this is one issue which has been repeatedly raised, that it is, as Ms. Akol said, that they are allowed to look, read, but not test. So what is the value of the so-called source code review? So now I'm going back now to Attorney Guevara. Attorney Guevara, you mentioned three lawyers faithfully and diligently being present in all the source code review. Yes, but you were only allowed to read, not to test. So how did you find the experience? Was it worthwhile? Was it worth the effort, or was it a useless exercise?
Well, to be candid with COMELEC, especially Commissioner Gia has actually addressed some of our questions during the source code review. But a lot of our questions were never actually answered. It was just merely noted down. And to my mind, if those questions were answered, if our suggestions were actually put into practice or put in effect, then I guess our problems would be a lot less compared to what we had experienced during the last election. As mentioned by Attorney Uy, on the issue on the box, on the square, that was never actually discussed during the source code review, and I can safely and confirm that matter. Now, as mentioned by, I think, Executive Director Tolentino, that's a way for the machine to assess whether a particular vote was cast for a particular candidate. Now, if I can show you a ballot image in which multiple political parties were shaded, and all these political parties have their own squares, wouldn't that actually debunk the entire position of COMELEC that it is a way of asserting that only one box is counted for a particular candidate for a ballot? Party list, for example, you only choose one party list, right? However, I've seen a ballot image that has multi-party votes shaded, and all these parties that are shaded have boxes, have squares. How is it possible? Also, I have seen a ballot image wherein for a candidate for a vice president, I will not name the vice president involved anymore, but one just left. Both ovals were shaded, and you would expect a ballot box for the two of those shaded, the squares. Unfortunately, when I saw it, there's only one box of this only square for one particular candidate, despite having two shades on the ovals, fully shaded ovals for the two candidates for the vice president. How is it possible? Okay, another item, sir, another item. In the source code review, if I may, okay, under resolution of the COMELEC, only political parties are allowed to do the source code review. You have to be endorsed by a political party. And I've had discussions with Commissioner Gia. Why would you limit the source code review to those endorsed by a political party? We have had experts from the different we have IT experts, IT associations who can likewise do the source code review, and yet they're barred from doing the source code review themselves, except for one. Dr. Sass was allowed by COMELEC to do the source code review despite not being endorsed by a political party, primarily because we had to talk to Commissioner Gia to allow Dr. Sass to do the source code review. Now, what we're saying now is what we're recommending, suggests is it should not be limited to political parties. It should be open up to everybody. Not only just anybody and everybody, it should also be COMELEC and even DOST. Because at that time when we did the source code review, not even a member of COMELEC, not even a member of DOST or AISTI did the source code review with us. If you will notice of all the hearings that we've conducted here, every time you ask a technical question to COMELEC, they will always refer you to Smartmatic. Right? Always Smartmatic, but Smartmatic is the one who actually did develop the software. But is it that COMELEC should be the one to run our election and not Smartmatic? Should be COMELEC be able to address all of our questions, even the technical side of it, and not Smartmatic? So what we're saying is that there should be more action, more participation from COMELEC, even the technical people of COMELEC, even the commissioners, to participate in our electoral process, in preparing for the elections, especially for 2019, and not just leave it to Smartmatic.
Thank you, Attorney Guevara. I'll look at the other side. Then, Attorney Valera, then I'll come back to you.
Yes, Your Honor, I just want to make additional observation and clarification to what I mentioned earlier. As I mentioned earlier that the vote counted by the machine is the same as reflected in the decrypted picture image. But I'm not saying that ito na yung tamang votes of the parties, because we also observe, Your Honor, that when a very thin check mark or an accidental marking on the oval of the ballot is counted as a vote, Your Honor. So when for the senatorial slots, when the accidental marking or the thin check mark is the 13th oval being captured as a vote, this results into rejection of all the votes of the parties, Your Honor. It's already an overvote, Your Honor. So, contrary to the pronouncement of the COMELEC on the 25% threshold shading, Your Honor, we observed that just a very thin mark or an accidental marking is counted as a vote.
That was the official threshold, 25%. In effect, you're telling us the machines were programmed to detect up at least 25%, and if it is detected, it will be considered a mark. Tama po ba yan?
Yes, sir.
Pero, Attorney Guevara, if you can provide this committee with what you said, that you can produce this, pero photocopy lang yan of the digital image, no? Kasi bagsak yung explanation yung COMELEC about the presence of the square. Bagsak kasi in effect, sinasabi kanina although unannounced, the digital image now produces a square anong tawag mo doon, surrounding the mark which the machine counted. And then according to Atty. Guevara, and I'm asking him how to submit, in a party list, he has seen a printout of an image where there are two squares. So mali na yun.
Kasi ang overvote kagad yun eh. So, but we need to see what you saw, okay? Okay, so let's give chance to others muna. Congressman, I know you're a gentleman. Munahin muna natin si ladies first, Miss Crimson. And then after you, sir, after you. Miss Crimson.
Thank you, sir, for the recognition. I just wanted to raise several issues here that were given by the CAC sometime and also by the COMELEC. First and foremost, there was a discussion on the VVPAT now in the RMA, okay? So I think there should be a direct relationship between the RMA and the VVPAT. Why is that? Because the VVPAT is actually what the voters voted, okay? And so I cannot understand how the RMA does not use the VVPAT as a second basis for the RMA, Random Manual Audit. Now, NAMFRED here explained to me, because I told them, why didn't you do that? And they explained to me that they did not do that because the VVPAT, number one, does not have the precinct number, does not have the ballot number. So, in short, the VVPAT is just a piece of paper. It is useless, no? So I think that when you decide to have the VVPAT, those items like the ballot number and the precinct number should be there so it can correlate to the actual ballot that it voted po. So when you do the random manual audit, you will now be able to do a true comparative of the vote and not just an interpretation of the ballot po. Second to that, with regards to the...
Ms. Kimson, your questions are directed to the COMELEC?
No, it's actually not a question. It's a suggestion and recommendation
the recommendations are, yeah, okay.
Actually have those identifying marks because otherwise it's a useless piece of paper. Okay? Next to that is when we are discussing the security level of the ENYE, okay, yes, it had a hash code, but what level of secure hash code is being used? It's a very low level, sir. Because any true IT expert will tell you that the minute any change occurs on a system, okay, the hash code will change. Even if you put it back, it will still change again. Each time you change anything po, nagpapalit ang hash code number. So if you change it to ENYE and you put it back, that means, yes, there is a security level there in terms of a hash code, but it's a very low level for security po. You should use something that's equal to banking standards so you can actually do a trace of any changes that occur within the system. Not just the going to ENYE and going back, therefore the same. No? So that is another recommendation which I think should be used. And I think, William, you will agree with me on this because it's something that's very critical, sir. Okay? Third and foremost is the digital signatures. Okay? The digital signatures right now have a problem because it doesn't seem as though you know who the chairman is. Okay? And because I saw a lot of returns which showed only... I saw... Sorry. Sorry, I'm just rushing to go to the airport. I saw a lot of returns, sir, that showed 3 digital signatures and none of them were chairman. So the law actually requires 3 digital signatures, one of which is the chairman. Okay, so I cannot understand how this is happening. Now, I raised digital signatures because I worked at DICT, and in DICT, we actually use digital signatures. Okay, so this can actually be used for the BEIs. And anybody that tells me right now, which has been said by even Attorney Lasatin, the last election, is because if one of them doesn't show up, then we have a problem. So now I raise the question is, how big a size is the SD card that's being used in terms of memory? I'm sure you can use 128 gig, okay, and that will suffice to put in all the BEIs and the chairman within a certain province even, onto a single card. Because you're not going to transfer them inter-province, okay? So this signature can be embedded into all the SD cards for validation. So when somebody goes into the system, they will actually be able to use their digital signature. I think Asti's here, Peter Banson, I know him quite well. They actually are the holders of the locks specific to the digital signature. Ngayon po, ang problema dyan, the reason for a digital signature is to secure that the person that signed it is that person. The problem is COMELEC is asking for the key as well. So now what has happened, and which is what is happening now, the I button, very specifically, the key, in other words, to decrypt it, is also with COMELEC. So there is no validation because if one person holds the answer to everything and the key to everything, they hold the key to the vault po. Which is why there's no check and balance. So DOST has the ability po to do that. Worst case scenario is they can set up a server inside the room so it doesn't have to go to the internet so that DICT ASTI can now validate the digital signatures when the ERs come in po. Because right now, there is no true validation of the digital signature when it comes into the reporting.
Thank you, Ms. Kimson. Please take note of that, and based on our stenographers, we will go back to that to make the committee's report. Ms. Kimson has discussed a lot of things, and we will just take note of that and make sure that the good points there will be included in our report, in coordination with COMELEC, DICT, and DOST, Mr. Peter Banson.
Mr. Chair, if I can just ask you to ask them if my suggestions are valid.
Yes, Executive Director Tolentino.
Thank you, sir. We have already discussed the matter of digital signatures with the DICT, and we are just firming up the procedure on how to enroll the teachers and when, so that they can key in their individual pins for the digital signatures.
Yeah, but
and
no, because I would like to get an answer that the key to that stays with DICT ASTI. Because otherwise, if it's not with them, then it's useless. Because they have the answer to everything.
As I said, we are in the process of discussing the matter with the DICT. So let's just wait for the DICT to give us their official recommendations, ma'am.
Yeah, as an oversight body, we will duly take note of that, and in coordination with the concerned agencies, the best to the best of that we can, we will do that, Ms. Kimson. Before we recognize, I'd like to recognize my former colleague, Tito Monic, Congressman Monico Fuentebella.
Maraming salamat, Chairman. Magandang hapon sa lahat. Una, we'd like to thank you and Senator Pimentel for initiating what I call democracy at large in this country. Alam mo, kung wala itong forum na to, walang mangyayari. Ang hirap, sino bang kakausapin mo kung may panalo o may talo dito? That's why maganda yung question ni Senator Trillanes. And I don't know whether I didn't get a categorical answer from COMELEC. Mayroon bang isang kaso dito na nanalo after using this digital election system? I doubt kung may nanalo eh. Kasi sa tatlong eleksyon na ginamit ito, pag may nanalo, ay siguro maaapektuhan ang buong eleksyon, ang buong bayan. Kaya hindi pwede. I'm sorry, mahal ko itong kasama ko, si former Congressman Villafuerte, pero ang labas ng sagot mo, ang sagot nito, I think sa kaso mo, after na ng eleksyon na susunod, itong 2019. Kasi hindi pwedeng before eh. Kung before at ikaw ay nanalo, ilang libo, ilang daan ang kaso na babaliktad dito. Kaya hindi siguro pwedeng may manalo kasi if you can prove that this machine is unreliable, bakit pa natin itutuloy ito? Sigurado si Presidente siguro sisigaw na o magmumura nito eh. O kung hindi na nagmura siguro. Kaya palagay ko, after hearing all of these IT experts, I consider them more knowledgeable than us politicians. Mas kanong reklamo nila, ano bang mangyari after nito? Baka after this hearing, maganda na pumutok, pero wala pa rin mangyari. Kasi nagtaka ako kung bakit nag-retire yung mga commissioner na, alam ko doon, ang iba, mga lim ata, bakit nag-retire 1 month, 2 months lang before retirement? Binayaran ng COMELEC bilyon-bilyon ang ang Smartmatic. And every time we see them answering questions here or elsewhere sa Kongreso, iba-ibang persona ang hinaharap. Nasa na si Mocha, nasa Argentina, nasa Valenzuela, Venezuela. Ito sana naman to, with all due respect, I don't know which country you come from. May I know which country you're from? You come from? May I know which country you're from? India or?
I'm an Indian citizen. India.
India, okay. I have so many good friends there. But every time magkaroon ng putok, ang nagsumasagot para sa Smartmatic, iba-ibang mukha. Kaya ako'y nagpapasalamat, sinabi ko na, Senator Pimentel, kasi kung wala kayo dito ngayon, walang nangyari. And after hearing all these knowledgeable IT experts, ano itutuloy pa natin uli ito? Why do we risk? Pabilisan ba to? Di sa Olympics na lang kayo. Kasama na kayo sa akin. Kung pabilisan lang ito, na lalabas na direct in 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, tapos na eh. Okay, pabilisan. Gold medal ka. Pero is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Ang nanalo ba talaga nanalo o pabilisan lang? Tapos kung sino may kilala na sabi ni Congressman Glenn, kasama ko rin ito. Sabi niya mayroong operator, mayroong dealer. Paunahan ba? Kung wala kang dealer, wala kang operator, kawawa ka naman, maski mahusay kang mayor, governor. Hindi lang naman ito senador, ang question dito eh. Ang tinatanong dito, buong bayan, pati mayor, governor, kasali dito. Kaya hindi pwedeng maglindol na let's say may nanalong isang kaso. Pag nanalo, these people here, their job will be at stake. COMELEC will not probably even exist anymore kung may manalo na masira at maprubahan na yung makina ay unreliable. Kaya ako'y nagpapasalamat tuloy sa inyo because kung wala kayo, wala to eh, wala ang future natin.
Thank you.
I don't know. Salamat ha, salamat sa inyo.
Mayor Puentevella. Director Tolentino, what do you say? And meron pa tayong kasama dyan mula sa COMELEC Legal Department?
Sir, yung mga may kaso, sir, mas maganda siguro kung intayin na lang natin patapos yung case. But I was raising my hand, sir, because our IT department brought to my attention the purpose of the square which we have been discussing on the digital image. Ang sabi nila, the square which is shown in the digital image shows that the shade actually met or exceeded the threshold. Okay, it's not actually it means it's a boat. It means that it met the threshold or exceeded the threshold. That's why yung sinabi ni Hubert earlier that he saw several squares, that could mean that there were several squares, in which case he should look at the last page of the digital image at tingnan niya kung overvote yun. So yun po yung gusto ko lang ipa-correct para...
Your Honor.
Pero hindi namin kasalanan, sir, kasi when you first explained it, ganun ang impression namin nakuha.
Apa. Kaya po pinapa-correct
Good.
ko.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Wait a minute.
I'm showing you...
Congressman, wait a minute. Sandali. Konektado ba? Square ba yan?
Yes, yes.
Sige, sige.
I'm here, 5 votes by different people as decrypted, showing that there are 2 squares, but both were shaded. So that debunks the supposition that the squares appear only to recognize a vote.
Kaya nga sir, they corrected it na. They corrected it na that the square means that the shading satisfied the threshold.
Yes,
Yun lang.
but
So
in this case, the shading is too small. That it does not meet the threshold. I'll show them to you.
Pero
sir.
machine na yun. Machine determination na kasi yan.
Sir, Your Honor.
Just submit na.
Sir, Your Honor.
I'm submitting, Your Honor.
Attorney Chong, si Attorney Celis muna. Yes, sir. Dr. Celis, Dr.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to go back to 2012 OTP, option to purchase. And the decision of the Supreme Court was that they're allowing the Commission on Elections to acquire the machines used in 2010 for 2013 elections. And the reason behind was that COMELEC has already detected those items that should be repaired by the Commission on Elections. But right after the decision of the Supreme Court, it was found out that there was no repair done in the PCOS machines. Second, there was a legal battle between Smartmatic and the actual owner of the technology, which is the Dominion voting system. And in that regard, there was a legal battle at the Court of Chancery in Delaware, and Smartmatic cited that there were problems in the 2010 elections, and there was no even support from the DVS. That's what the Smartmatic cited in the Court of Chancery. So meaning to say that in 2010, all our systems that were used were really defective. That was the stipulation or what was mentioned by Smartmatic during the legal battle in the Court of Chancery in Delaware. So the owner of the system is not Smartmatic. It was the Dominion voting system in Canada. Second, the final decision to evaluate the right technology to be used in the elections is in the hands of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. It is not the final decision of the Commission on Elections to make a recommendation or make a decision based on their assessment. The assessment and evaluation is in the hands of the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. So that is stipulated in the law. So whatever the previous elections use, what are the findings, what are the assessments, the final decision is in the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee. Now with regard to the SD card, there's a big risk regarding the changes in the data stored in the SD card because the one that was used, SD cards, is rewritable. That means anything that you put in, either by VCM or PCOS machine, it can be tampered. So one of the terms of reference in the past bidding, the device to be used should be write once, read many. So those machines used in the past 4 elections, ARM election, and the 3 national elections, use SD cards that are rewritable. So there's already a risk of changing the data. Fourth, regarding the source code review, it was only mentioned that there are only 3 systems to be reviewed, the EMS, the VCM, and the CCS. But in the privilege speech then by Senator Soto, the majority leader, he mentioned about the regional hubs and the DNS. So there should have been a source code review for these 7 regional hubs and also for the DNS. And it was also mentioned by former Chairman Brillantes that he have this source code 3 days before the elections. But if you go back to the law, it's stipulated therein that 3 months before the elections, the source code should have been certified by Technical Evaluation Committee in coordination with the international certifying body. But our recommendation in this regard, instead of concentrating or focusing on the ICE, because Executive Director Tolentino mentioned that they will have the limited source bidding. And we don't believe that the SLI is very, very transparent. So what we would like to request is to tap the big four auditing firms because they have the capability to come up or even evaluate the source codes, not only the IT experts, but auditing firms. And with regard to the telco, it was mentioned earlier that the data transmission logs were purged. And this is very, very critical in case of protest. And what we have been doing, or what the COMELEC has been doing, was that the data in the SD cards, the ballot boxes, they keep it for protest. But this is very, very important to consider that the transmission logs should also be stored. The retention period should be as equal as the SD cards data, the ballot boxes. So that should also be considered in terms of data retention. And then there is a stipulation in the law that the implementing rules and regulations should also be implemented or promulgated by the Commission on Elections. Since 1987, since the time the Republic Act 8436, there was no implementing rules and regulations that was promulgated by the Commission on Elections. And we're talking about legal aspect in this regard, promulgation of implementing rules and regulations. And I could remember that former Chairman Andy Bautista was saying, we will promulgate, and with the help of the rest or the stakeholders for this RA 9369.
Okay, can I take up some of his points? Okay, ito. The letter from PLDT said that the logs were automatically purged from their data storage services. Mahirap ba i-retain ito sa storage? Malaki ba masyadong, Dr. Celis, as far as you know, malaki ba masyadong kinakain na space nito?
No. These are text files, and it should not.
So why the urgency or the excitement to delete them just because they were transmitted already to Smartmatic? I-delete na.
They can archive that. It should not.
So it will not cost them that much, no?
And that should be part of the keeping the records.
For the record, Executive Director, kasi according to Globe naman, the Globe entered into a contract with Smartmatic TIM, not with COMELEC. How about PLDT? PLDT's contract is also with Smartmatic. Okay. So, according to Globe, their contract with Smartmatic did not include storage or retention of the data. Can we know if we will allow the same in 2019? Who will enter into contract with the telco? Still Smartmatic TIM or the COMELEC? But even if it is the COMELEC or even if it's Smartmatic TIM, can the COMELEC require Smartmatic TIM to make sure that in the contract the logs will be saved, retained for X number of years? Ilagay nyo na X number kasi hindi ko maintindihan why the excitement to just because nabigay na daw sa Smartmatic, we will automatically delete it. Ganun ba kamahal i-maintain yun sa storage nila? Anybody who knows the answer, please?
Sir, ongoing ang bidding ng election results transmission system. So we'll include that in the TOR probably through a bid bulletin. that the winning bidder should be required to retain for 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah, I also understand that we also invited representatives coming from Smart and
Are telco representatives here? But the acting secretary, telco is here? Oh, please identify yourself, sir. And then, can you tell us, masyado bang mahal ito on your part if you retain the data?
Engineer Gualvez is recognized.
Yeah, I'm Engineer Rolly Gualvez, representing PLDT Smart. We actually provided the information to the one who get our services. So the fact that we have provided it already and we have no request to retain this, it's actually there's no intervention being requested to the system that it will be retained. So automatically, as the data comes in, it will automatically purge the information that was used before.
Pero pwede rin na we cannot make it automatically, tama? You can also program your system that you do not automatically purge the data. Tama?
I think so, sir. I think
okay.
so.
Yeah, kaya yun, di ba? Especially if it is requested that you retain the data. Tama po, kaya?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay, so Secretary Rio, what do you think? Ikaw ang expert dyan.
Yes, sir. Actually, the telcos only have to download those particular data and preserve it themselves or pass it on to COMELEC.
Can we, basta Executive Director, no? Okay, and the commissioners are here present. Okay, I also noticed in the budgeting, mayroon na tayong 3 I-buttons ngayon. Since when tayo nag 3 I-buttons? Alam ko nung start, 1 I-button lang nung first, tama po ba yun? The first automated election, there was only 1 I-button. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when did we start now having 3 I-buttons and why? What is the purpose?
Itong 2016, sir. So, it's intended for the digital signatures of the chairman, fourth clerk, and third member.
So, if absent yung isa, we cannot start the election because missing yung I button, third I button?
If I remember correctly, sir, if the chairman is there, then we pwede na. Kasi the machine, the VCM itself has its own digital signature. If the chairman is not around, at least majority of the BEI, so that poll clerk and third member should be there to place their I buttons on the receptacle.
Using their own I buttons this time. Kasi before we were able to hold automated elections with only 1 I button. Ngayon, kailangan 3 na. Nakita ko yung additional gastos actually yun. Kaya tinitignan ko kung is it really necessary. Did the CAC notice this? Dr. Yu?
Yes, sir. So it was part of the recommendations they gave for the enhancements on the 2016 system. So one I button per member.
Yeah, enhancements sa gastos o enhancements sa system? Kasi, yun ang point ko. Dati, nung isang I button lang, don't tell me walang nag-absent na chairman, pero natuloy pa rin ang eleksyon sa presinto. Paano nagawa yun?
Yung time na yun, sir, it is the PCOS which had its own digital signature.
Ngayon din naman the BCM has its own digital
Yes, sir.
signature
Marami kasing gusto na makialam sa amin, sir. At sinasabi nila, kailangan...
Kaya nga, it's a reaction to all of this clamor
sir.
na ano. But does it really answer the issue of that digital signature? Kasi gumastos lang tayo actually ng dagdag na baka forma lang pamporma lang I mean,
Sir,
para lang...
may decision na Supreme Court saying that the digital signature of the machine is sufficient to comply with the law.
Okay, can I now go to the Smartmatic, Mr. Pravir? Well, can you now tell us about who is the real intellectual property holder in the 3 main systems that we need to review?
It is Smartmatic, sir.
You now categorically state
Yes.
Smartmatic. Okay, maybe the case is over, no? So,
Yeah, that's
yes, that's already done.
Sir.
What is now the commitment of Smartmatic? Can you as the intellectual property rights holder, will you now allow our source code reviewers to bring this to their labs so that they can test it?
We will have to understand what exactly is required to be done in terms of the testing, etc. And we will need our board approvals, and we'll do that. Whatever.
Okay, so we will do that. That would be the value of our next JCOC AES hearing. By that time, we need to see progress in this aspect, no? Because that will, the Attorney Oy, Attorney Guevara, and Attorney Elesarba, the three who faithfully attended the source code reviews, will that be a big help if they will allow you to bring to your lab the source code? Can you answer? Who can answer? Malaking improvement ba yun? May tulong ba yun? May value ba yun?
May value po yun kasi ever since po nung nagsimula ho kami sa source code review, yun po isa sa mga tanong namin. Pwede ba namin i-run yung mga source code na yan sa aming mga equipment? Ang sabi po sa amin hindi pwede kasi nga proprietary ang code na to, ang kanilang sistema.
Kaya nga because
kung pwede, yes.
Because we met in the COMELEC a wall of resistance, and not knowing that on the other side of the wall, the owner of the intellectual properties, they may be willing to allow us. So, can you this early, Mr. Pravir, communicate with your board that is now the tenor of the Philippine Senate Congressional Committee, that we will be requiring the intellectual property right owner to release the program for source code review of our reviewers.
We'll take it up with our board.
Yes, this early, sir. This early. Just give them an idea already of what is coming. Thank you. Okay, so, Mr. Casiple?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two sets of comments and questions.
Excuse me. Ano na lang, let's be direct to the point because
Yes,
ang usapan namin ni Chairman Tugna, 1:30, we have to already adjourn our hearing.
Well, only two questions, Mr. Chair. One is quite technical. I would like to ask Smartmatic and also the reviewers if the actual reading of the oval is being done by the machine, or is it the square that is being read? And therefore, the 25% or 50% is based on the oval or is based on the square. That is a major question. The second point on the technical actually is we have brought out before the question of the right one's read many requirement. This is the question of rewritability of the actual SD card, because that is a major security question. If you can change the actual memory in the SD card, that would present a major problem. The second point I would like, Mr. Chair, is to go back to the recommendation of the Advisory Council in 2010, which I was a member. And that recommendation has not been acted up to now. This is particularly in relation to the question of the law itself. When I was still part of the technical working group there, we envisioned that only the participation of a foreign company be used once in an election. And the reason for that, which was built into the law, is that we don't have the experience. But this is already the fourth and the fifth time, actually, that we will be using the automated election system. And the law has not been changed. It should have already allowed local participation. And related to this is the recommendation that the government itself should be the one to handle the automated election system, with procurement going to possibly preferentially local, because we already have the technology, we have the hardware, we have the software, and our own assessment of the complexity of the programming is that we can do it ourselves. the NCC in the CICT at the time, now we have the DICT, actually have the capability to do that. And that is also required because there is a question in the past for election about intellectual property, the question of transparency and so on. If the whole process is handled by Filipinos, particularly government, then it becomes a requirement that we can actually see the whole process. It also would mean that COMELEC would have to develop its own capability because it is the constitutionally mandated body to handle the election. Then there will be no question on whom the responsibility for any problem would be addressed to. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Decide.
Mr. Chair.
Yung hindi pa nakapagsalita, si Mr. Abria.
I would just like to, good afternoon. I would just like to address like source code review coverage. Okay. Aside from the EMS, VCM, and CCS, which were covered in the previous source code reviews, there is also, of course, a transmission, the Meet Me room, where allegedly queue servers were present, the transparency server, the central server of the COMELEC, as well as mentioned earlier by Dr. Celis, the digital hubs. These systems will not run without the software. So we must be made aware of what the software or applications that are running in this in these various components. So like I mentioned, one is the transmission, two is the Meet Me room, transparency server, the fourth one is central server, as well as the digital hubs. Okay. The other one that I would like to just mention is the COMELEC website hacking. There was 350 gigabytes worth of data. Okay, maybe we can ask the National Privacy Commission on their findings, what was covered in the so-called COMELEC. Okay, I understand that aside from the data that can be accessed via the precinct finder, included among the data that was pilfered from the COMELEC includes overseas voters, including their passports. It also included gun ban exemptions, as well as COMELEC personnel records. No? So maybe we can validate this with the findings of the National Privacy Commission. So I would suggest that we secure a copy of the findings of the National Privacy Commission. And lastly, just a suggestion from former Commissioner Lagman, no, that maybe the JCOC can host a forum among the stakeholders for a technical discussion of what we really want for the next elections. No? Because in hearings like this, wala tayong mauuwian on the technical matters. Eh. No? So that's all.
Thank you for that suggestion. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, Congresswoman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think can we already summarize what has been taken up, Mr. Chairman? And the recommendation the visitors and members of these committees had presented. Okay, una po is that maganda with I hope the Smartmatic, Mr. Chairman, will be able to already report as soon as possible time kung magkakaroon ng meeting together with the different representatives who are here. And then aside from that, yun hong recommendation ngayon na kailangan po ay that this committee will have a meeting po with sa lahat po para at least we really can, because we're short of time already. And I heard Executive Director a while ago that you were like already telling about a bidding, something like that it has already been published. Kaya kailangan ho magmadali tayo. Because we in the committee really want that yun hong mga boto natin will be really respected. You know, ang kailangan natin ngayon. With the present administration, kailangan lahat maayos. Ano po, Mr. Chairman, that's all that I would like to...
Yes, Congresswoman. Mr. Abiria, we will take you up on your idea. No? Just assist us by giving us the program flow for that technical gathering. Okay?
Yes, we will do that.
Please,
Thank you.
please. Okay, so I'm sorry. No, yes, Congresswoman. Yes. Ano na ba? Ladies and gentlemen, not all of you were able to speak. I'm so sorry because our colleagues in the House will need to travel and suffer the traffic going to that. So, Congresswoman, si Barsaga, yes.
Since everybody heard, so I move this committee be adjourned. Second.
Okay, so apologies again. You those who have some ideas in writing, please submit to the JCOC AS. But in the next hearing, Mr. Pravir, everybody's looking forward to the answer of Smartmatic if you're open to the idea. So thank you very much. Sorry for the lack of time. Our hearing, our session is hereby adjourned.
Senator, isa lang ang tatanungin ko eh. Narinig mo na lahat. Itutuloy pa ba yung ano?
Tuloy.
Tuloy.
Tuloy. Nasusunod na eh. Bilhin na eh. Sino papalit mo?
Yung manual, tapos ano? Hybrid seat.
Ay, pero wala pa na nakapresent na system eh.
Oh, sige, papapresent ko kita. Okay? Sige, okay. Pero pwede pa hamabol eh.
Sabi nga si SP, confident pa siya, pwede pa eh. Ako, malabo na eh.
Hindi, magagawa yan. Magagawa yan.
Thank you. Malabo na, di ba?
You're running for re-election.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm from Batiscaya. Ano ko si Atty. Sino ba? Arieta. Kaya sinusuwartahan ka.
Thank you. COMELEC does not know if it is the backup SD card, or the main SD card which is being used in the transmission. You alam. You never know. You have to look at the minutes of voting, sabi nyo. But can that be... We will know which card is to travel and suffer the traffic going to that. So, Congresswoman, si Barsaga, yes.
Since everybody heard, so I move this committee be adjourned. Second.
Okay, so apologies again. You those who